Good evening and welcome to the North Andover School Committee meeting of Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to take off the shoes. Can't move. Have to be at limber for the meeting. We're going to start with the consent agenda. The minutes from September 11th, they were linked a little late, but Mr. Brown, you've reviewed them.
Yep.
I am going to give the committee 2 minutes to read through, and then we'll take it from there. But they were accurate.
Yep, they looked
Great.
good to me.
Great. So everyone can have just a moment to do
And
that.
I made, as usual, a couple of quick corrections, and Michelle accepted them, so.
Perfect.
Sorry.
All right. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we accept the minutes of September 11th, 2025, as presented in the packet.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Moskovich. Any further discussion? Moving on to vote. Mr. Moskovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Sams?
I abstain.
Mr. Brown?
Yes?
Mrs. Cormier?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, 4-0, with 1 abstain. Thank you. Communications. Hello, Han. Han. Sorry. Then I go in my head and I get all confused.
No, you got it right the first time. Don't worry about it.
And Allie, how are you tonight?
I'm lovely. How are you?
How are your, no running today. On Saturday you have a meet coming up?
We had a course tour today in Lowell, and we have MVCs on Saturday. So pretty exciting.
Course tours where you get to like run the course.
Yeah, make sure we know where we're going.
So you can plan out your strategy.
For sure.
Awesome. And did you have a meet this week yet?
We have MVCs on Saturday.
And where are those going to be? At a pool.
At a pool somewhere in Concord.
Awesome. Why don't you share with us your report of the student representative report?
Absolutely. So starting off, some students have been voicing concerns over busing, as some buses have had to take double routes. Nearly every day in the afternoon announcements, there is something said about 2 or 3 buses, maybe 1. Like, it's something every single day. The biggest application deadline is November 1st, so that's early action and early decision. And this is another reminder to fill out FAFSA and CSS and fill out this profile so you can get those applications in. Homecoming was a super big success this year. Student Council hosted their yearly Shirley Temple bar, which is a fundraiser that we do to go to a conference in March, the thing I run. And we had a lot of success with that this year. The DJs were great also this year. And we had more students than last year. We sold 850 tickets, which was great. And shout out to North Andover Police and NAS faculty for supervising all of us. And the pep rally was fantastic. The seniors won. It's not rigged, but we won again. Sophomores lost. We had a lot of great games. Personally, I think it was the best it's gone in years. That might be because I also ran it, but it went great. So my favorite game was, I think, air mattress racing, but some people loved Dutch auction, and a lot of people loved wig snatching. And auditions for Drama Fest have been announced. They are this Saturday from 10 to 12. See Miss Looney with questions. And Greece has been in full swing with musical rehearsals happening, and costumes just finished measurements, so we can start ordering some of those. And October 30th, World Language Honor Society is inducting new members. I will be there to help induct members into the German National Honor Society.
Thank you, Allie. And I guess I can continue with some clubs that are going on and what's happening in them. Starting off with Future Medical Professionals is attempting to host a Quiz Bowl style competition midway through the year, and more information on signups and content covered will be released soon. They also have their first speaker set for October 29th, and as per tradition, the first speaker is a faculty at NAS, this year being Mrs. Hoagland, considering her background in organic chemistry and industry. Writing Club started drafting their market basket ideas, which were discussed last time. Arabic Club was recently made, holding meetings on Wednesdays, and Elderly Empowerment Club made Halloween cards Tuesday the 21st, and Feminist Book Club has returned. It is on Thursday mornings in Mrs. Hirsch's room. Louine and I attended MASR, which is Massachusetts Association of Student Representatives. The delegate assembly was on the 18th, and I was able to run and get a spot on their executive council, which was super exciting. Yes. Louine did a financial literacy workshop, which I attended. It was really good. And additionally, MASR's new goal for this year is going to be Bill 2665, and the topic is phone bans. Also, quarter one's end is coming up on November 7th, and the faculty drafted midterms and finals yesterday during the half-day development time, which went pretty well.
Does Master have a position on phone bans?
That's what we'll be discussing. We got some
Oh.
feedback on it, and there's both positives and negatives and different viewpoints, and that's really what's exciting about discussing these different bills, because we love to hear all the different perspectives. So if I get more information, I can let you know.
Thank you. Other questions?
Allie, so question on, you mentioned the bus issues for the high school students. What's the actual impact to the students? Because it just, why I'm asking is just, I don't know what anyone else has received. So I've heard feedback on elementary school buses from 2 parents, but I hadn't heard anything on the high school. So just curious, kind of what's the impact to the students at the end of the day?
So, to my knowledge, I don't take the bus, but this is to my knowledge.
Yeah.
They go to the main office, and they have to either get on a different bus. This happened to me when I used to take the bus. So when that happened, basically, you went on a different bus. They took the people home first on their bus, and then they bring you home. So if you get out of school at like 2:20, the buses leave at 2:30, you get to the middle school a little bit later, you're likely going to get home around 3:30.
So it's a later, so
It's
later
very
trip
long.
home.
It's out of the way, and it kind of disrupts like other things too.
Do you have a sense of how often that's happening?
Every single day.
Like one, not the same route every single day, but
It's pretty much been consistent with the ones that are substitute buses.
okay.
So like today was 8, bus 8 was announced, I believe. Yeah, it was bus 8. 12 has been pretty frequent as well. too.
So it's certain specific routes are happening a lot.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Yeah.
Yeah, certain ones are happening more often than others.
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions, queries?
Did Louine, was he the presenter of that workshop that you attended?
Yes, so he's the financial director of MASR, which is why he held that workshop.
Great, maybe he should present to us.
It was
Can you-
really good. He's a really good presenter.
Hon, can you Mazur, I'm not sure how you spell that. Can you spell that for me? The organization acronym?
Oh, yes. MASR.
F like Frank.
S.
S like
So
Sam.
it's
MASR.
Massachusetts Association of Student
Representatives. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Yep. Now I got it.
Thank you so much. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Moving on to public comment. Of course, public comment is open for the public to make any comment to the school committee, but in particular for this meeting and for the next meeting, we are asking the community to give public comment regarding the dedication of Building 1 at the ABECC to Mary Lou Connors. It's part of our official naming process in its policy FFR, I believe. And then we would take a vote on that on November 20th. So if you have anyone who would like to share public comment on that, you're welcome to join us at the table. Snag the microphone from our student reps. Great, and it's name, address, right? Yes. Thank you.
Name and address. My name is Kim Angelo. I live in 11 Bay Point Lane in Haverhill, but I'm a teacher at the Early Childhood Center. So I'd like to just, her committee put together a little
Absolutely.
letter that we'd like to present to you. So Mary Lou Connors has led North Andover's pre-K early childhood special education program from its inception in 1989 to 2019, when the ABECC was established to incorporate North Andover's pre-K and kindergarten programs. At that time, Dr. Goddard was hired as principal of the ABECC, and Mary Lou took on the role of director of early childhood education until her recent retirement. In its early years, the integrated preschool program was housed at the former North Andover High School. Over the years, the program grew tremendously under Mary Lou's direction, necessitating the need for more classrooms. Mary Lou successfully oversaw the program's many transitions, first from the old high school to the original Bradstreet School on Main Street, later to 2 different elementary schools, and ultimately to its very own building, the North Andover Early Childhood Center, in 2009. Mary Lou was an integral part of the creation and building of the original ECC, and later the kindergarten edition, which transformed the Early Childhood Center into what we know now as the Ann Bradstreet Early Childhood Center. What a remarkable achievement for such a young special education teacher to establish a small public integrated pre-K program for the town of North Andover, and then spend the next 35 years of her career completely dedicated to building on that foundation, nurturing and growing it into the highly respected and sought-after program that it is today. Over her 35-year career, Mary Lou welcomed countless families into our North Andover school system. For so many, she was their first contact with the North Andover Public Schools. She personally met with families when their children were still babies, some as young as 2.5 years old. Many of these children were living with challenges, including physical, medical, social, emotional, and/or autism diagnoses. These families were trusting the North Andover Public Schools with their greatest treasure, and Mary Lou's warmth, compassion, and dedication for each and every child quickly earned their trust. She spent countless hours meeting with families, staff, the children themselves, to ensure that each child received the level of support and quality education that they deserved. A typical school day for her was arriving at work between 5 and 6 each morning, and often staying till 7 at night. Mary Lou has literally and figuratively been the driving force behind the incredible ABECC pre-K program and the education that it provides to all students. So it is fitting that we as a community would choose to recognize her and memorialize her enormous contribution to the North Andover Public School System. Her unwavering dedication, passion, and love for the children, their families, and the staff that support them has earned her the love and admiration of us all. It is with this love and admiration that we respectfully ask you, the North Andover School Committee, to approve our request to dedicate Building 1, the preschool wing, of the ABECC to Miss Mary Lou Connors.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'll ask Michelle to, if you could send, do you have that printed out?
Yes.
If you could just email it to us or to Michelle, and we can have that entered as you read it into the minutes as in its completion versus a summary of it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Name and address.
Superintendent, but I'm also Pam Lathrop, resident of North Andover 68 Mill Pond, and I was the former principal of the Franklin School here in North Andover. During my tenure at the Franklin School, I had the great opportunity to work with Mary Lou Connors. We were one of the elementary schools where the preschool found their home at the Franklin School. Mary Lou Connors is perhaps one of the most selfless educators I've ever met. I don't tear up easily. I think that she has worked here for an enormous amount of time, and you may not know her name because Mary Lou flies under the radar. But she, just as Kim has said, and the committee, Mary Lou is really the first face that some of our most vulnerable students and families see. She welcomes them into our community. She starts to support them when they're 2.5. I think Mary Lou could tell you the name of every child that has ever gone through the ABECC, or the Cubs program as it was once known. I was also really fortunate to be a teacher here in North Andover. I started my career in 1989, and Mary Lou entrusted me and another teacher to co-teach some of her children when they were moving on from preschool and kindergarten. So she helped me establish the first co-taught special education, regular education classroom in North Andover. I've learned an enormous amount from her, and I can't think of anything more fitting than to dedicate that building to Mary Lou Connors. Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Give one to Alyssa. Dave. So, as I requested last time at the meeting, and then in our meeting recaps, we asked for some feedback from the community. I got a number of emails. I've pulled some of the more salient points out of them. I want to share them out loud for us and for the community. So I've provided everyone with a copy of that, and then these will be entered into the minutes as well. I'm going to read them, but I'm not going to use the names right now. And then if anyone would like, I can forward the entirety of the email to them. So one teacher said, Mary Lou is the reason North Andover has a popular preschool program. She dedicated her career to supporting NA families with young children of all abilities to thrive, grow, and to give them a place that is happy, safe, and inclusive to all. Mary Lou was an amazing educator and more recently a dedicated and supportive administrator who is known for her love, compassion, and sense of humor. She is more than deserving. Another community member wrote, Mary Lou has dedicated years to advocate for the best start for our special needs students. Her support for the families as well as the students is like no other. Mary Lou advocates for our families with her kindness and compassion, and if you know Mary Lou, with her humor. North Andover is better for the years of dedication Mary Lou has given us. Another one, Mary Lou has been a faithful servant and caretaker of the smallest children in our town for over 40 years. Mary Lou treated every child with love and dignity and saw the possibilities in every single child. We could always count on Mary Lou. Another one I got. She has overseen the preschool through many transitions and has remained positive and supportive through it all. Another parent, I felt, this was just a snippet from their longer email, but talking about the first time they dropped their child off I think it was at the Franklin this time. I felt a profound sense of calm wash over me. Her experience, warmth, and confidence immediately reassured us. It was clear she not only knew what she was doing, but she truly cared about the children she worked with. As a parent of a child with a complex medical history, it can both be challenging and overwhelming to navigate school life. From the beginning, Mary Lou was deeply dedicated to supporting the student and as a person. She and her staff celebrated every success, no matter how small, and always believed in his potential. Mary Lou has also challenged me in the best way to be a better parent and advocate. She encouraged me to learn to ask questions and understand what my child needed so we could work together to reach their goals. Another parent said, she's demonstrated an ability to relate to parents by making each parent feel valued, listened to, and respected. For many North Andover families, Mary Lou was the first connection parents had with the public schools, and this provided a positive start, even for families facing significant challenges due to their child's special needs. And lastly, never was I more grateful to know Mary Lou than when my own 4 children went through the preschool at the ABECC. 2 of my children were on IEPs during their time at the ABECC, and Mary Lou was always a calm voice of reason and understanding in some of the hardest moments of parenting. Sending children off to preschool can feel very difficult for parents and caregivers, but Mary Lou's warm smile and bubbly personality always made it a little easier. So, thank you very much to the community members that reached out and sent us those very kind words about Mary Lou. We'll have a similar process in a moment in 2 weeks at our next meeting, and then we'll take the vote on November 20th. Do we have any other public comment? Fantastic. Superintendent Lathrop, upcoming events.
So just listed on there, and you have a handout in your packet, is coming up is our Celebrating Teachers Night. We host that now at the North Andover Historical Society. It's on Wednesday, October 29th. We hope our school committee members can attend. This is the night where we honor the Educator Hall of Fame inductees. That will be Miss Janet Gaffney and Mr. Bert Noyes this year. And it's also the night that we recognize our teachers who are moving from initial teachers to receiving professional status in our district. This year we have 23 teachers that are receiving professional teaching status. It's a really great night. It's at the Historical Society, which is 800 Massachusetts Ave, and it starts at 6:30. Also, there are many other activities that are happening in our schools. We are trying to use our district calendar, which is on the website. We're not all there yet, but that's a great place to look to find some of the activities. Also, all of our schools send out newsletters, usually on a weekly basis. Everyone has a slightly different date, but that's a great place for families to look and see what some of the activities are. I just want to highlight a few that are maybe a little bit different than some of the things that you might see, like typical, many of our schools are doing either a trunk or treat, some of our elementary schools, or dine out nights. But at the North Andover Middle School, there is a North Andover High School junior, Rudar Shukala, who was awarded a STEM grant to conduct an aerospace makerspace event with our middle school students. Aero Labs is the first of its kind. It's a free makerspace event at North Andover High School. The students will learn about, build, and test aerodynamic wings. This event will be held at the North Andover High School Library on October 25th from 11 to 2 o'clock. Students will get a real-life experience testing with a wind tunnel and compete with their designs in a friendly competition at the end, too. So I just wanted to raise that attention to everyone. And then a couple things going on at the high school. I think Allie already told us that the World Language Honor Society will have their induction night. That's Thursday, October 30th from 6 to 7 o'clock, and that's in the auditorium. And then the North Andover High School Guidance Department is hosting a financial aid workshop on Thursday, November 13th. It's always great to attend those. And I think our student reps have talked about that a little bit too. So again, and there's lots of other activities on the websites and the newsletters, but those are a couple that I just thought that our public and school committee might want to know about.
Quick question about the 20, is it the 25th, Saturday?
Yes.
For which one?
The aerodynamics makerspace event?
Yes, October 25th.
Saturday. Okay.
11 to 2.
I'm going to probably show up.
Good.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That felt we are good tonight. So proud of.
Anybody else has anything.
I'm so proud of us. So we're going to move on to our school improvement plans, and we get to hear from Ms. Ando and our lovely, wonderful elementary principals. If you could all, it's time for you to join us up here at the big table. Allie and Han, you might have to scooch over and make room, or.
I was putting it there so they could sit together because I thought it was 2 at a time. 3.
We might need to scooch up 2 of the regular chairs from the gallery.
I can speak loudly from the gallery.
Use your best gym
Exactly.
kid voice. And as we're getting settled, we will, pretty much the same as last time, but I think, Ms. Ando, there's some calming goals that you're gonna talk about first, and then an individual goal from each of the elementary schools. Is that the
Absolutely.
the jive? And then since there's a lot of commonality, could we, after you do those two, could we pause for questions? And then after the individual goals are all done, maybe we can do questions then?
Sounds terrific.
Does that sound like a, okay?
Good plan. No problem.
And like, I encourage everyone to write down your questions and like make, last time we took over an hour and 10 minutes to do the 2 plans. And so since we have 4 tonight, I don't want the same ratio of being at 2 hours. So making sure we focus our questions on the most important, salient, and relevant questions to school improvement plans themselves.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Excellent. Good to see everybody. My team is here, so thank you. Remember our theme for the year, and just a review of our district goals around HQIM and equity, multi-tiered system of support and equity, and budgeting and equity. And tonight I have my 1 to 5 team here. What you will hear from our 1 to 5 team is an overarching view, and there's much more detail in the written school improvement plans themselves. And I want to bring the number 107 to the forefront, because 107 is the number of years that my elementary team has been working with students in the public school environment. And so I am tremendously proud. We are tremendously lucky to have this amount of experience sitting with us at the table. And so the genesis of these plans is we have written and rewritten and worked and reworked the first 2 goals so that they're common, and that's very intentional for them to be common. One of our driving factors in our strategic plan is around consistent and rigorous curriculum. We want a first grader at Thompson to have the same or similar experience as a first grader at Franklin, and so it's very intentionally, the paper reports are very intentionally duplicative. Am I saying that right? Like the idea that like we wrote and rewrote this plan together as a team. And I can understand how on paper it looks like cut and paste, or it looks like there might be less effort, but the idea that like we wrote it together, and it's very intentionally similar. And so I'm going to go over the first 2 goals, and then goal 3 is where each school environment is using its own unique qualities in order to move their work forward. And so again, we'll give you an overview, and there's details in the packet, and many thanks to my amazing team. We've been working on this since like mid-August. First goal, shockingly, is around HQIM. Specifically HQIM though, which is well underway in the K-5 environment. In this year we are adopting Eureka Math Squared. Full rollout, K-5, Eureka Math Squared. We've been using Eureka for the past 7 or 8 years. Eureka Math Squared is the updated, better version based on teacher feedback, student data, and lots of other factors. And so we are rolling it out this year. We're going to continue with Wit and Wisdom, and then implement investigating history when we can. The big push behind goal number 1, and it's outlined in your written form, is the idea that we are going to use the unit unpacking tool, very similar to the one we used with Wit and Wisdom, in order to unpack Eureka Math Squared units in teams. And we have a tiered or a 3-part model of how we do this. Our principals and directors develop the tool and design the sessions. Then our teacher leaders participate, then facilitate in a train-the-trainer model, and then teacher teams work together to coordinate instruction. So this is something that, although we have a giant HQIM goal for pre-K to 12, this is something really super specific that's happening in the K-5 space, and it's happening during our professional development days where teachers are spending time unpacking these units, looking at the units, understanding the concepts, anticipating difficulty, and our teacher leaders are really coaching our other teachers and leading the way. Our principals are doing that as well. And so that is goal number 1, and you can see more details about what that looks like in the written plan. Goal number 2, very similar to the district goal, is around MTSS. This is also a structure that is absolutely similar across all of our elementary schools. And this goal has to do with our DIBELS data meetings and progress monitoring meetings in this cycle. So the idea that you can see the graphic there of there are 5 major times a year where we come together as a district. We have to go to the Atkinson cafeteria because it's one of the few places we will all fit. So over 100 teachers come together to have a common session looking at data, and this will happen 5 times a year where we're following students' data. So what happens is that we have a giant session with over 100 teachers, and then teachers break off into grade levels. And like the entire 3rd grade across the district will meet and talk and look at their data. So we have a similar structure for math, and this is to drill down students that might be experiencing some difficulty, students that might not be at benchmark yet, in order to do that. And so our teacher leaders who coach our teachers and our principals and assistant principals also take part in that. So those 2 goals are common across our schools. Where there is some uniqueness is in our 3rd goal. So because we went from 5 elementary schools to 4 elementary schools, and we merged a lot of our elementary population, all of our schools have a goal around building school culture, but because each school community is unique, they all have a unique way of approaching this, and that's what you'll hear tonight. It is important to know that we are part of a research study called PLANS with the Center for Leadership and Educational Equity, called CLE. And the idea that Plan, Lead, Act, Network, and Sustain. 2 of our schools are participating with the CLE coaches this year. 2 will participate next year. And so everybody will get the support at some point. It's just and they're collecting the data to see. But the CLE was awarded a grant from the U.S. Department of Education about implementing school improvement plans and moving schools forward. And so Atkinson and Sargent are working with CLE this year. Franklin and Thompson will work with CLE next year. So you may hear the principals referring to that. And so, all right, my friends, without further ado, we're going to hear first from Erin at the Atkinson.
Do you want questions now?
Oh, sorry, yes, questions.
Okay. I almost don't want to stop you.
Right.
Any questions about the first 2 goals for Ms. Ando?
So just, I emailed a whole bunch
Yeah.
of stuff about that, and I haven't had, you emailed me back this afternoon, I guess, modified versions that address those points. So I haven't had a chance to look at them, so presumably they're what I said. But just for everybody's benefit, what I was looking at was just making sure we understood what a term like high growth meant, or what a term like, more precise definitions of what cutting something in half meant, right? Because you can interpret it multiple ways. So as long as we've gotten specific about that, and where I was coming from was looking for things that can be measured. Not that I'm, going to hold somebody to, you didn't hit 5%, you didn't do well. No, you did well. It's just everybody needs a target, right? And you want to be able to measure your target. And if your target's 5%, you hit 4%, you probably did great. But by just using words like high or half, I didn't know what you meant. So I appreciate that response. I will look at it. But that was really my comment about goals 1 and 2. In summary.
Yes, we absolutely tried to quantify it as much as we could. But a really good question, which I wanted to address, is the idea that why aren't we used MCAS data a lot at the middle school, at the 6 to 12 level, and it shows up less in these plans. Because we only test grades 3 to 10, we're missing a large population of our 1 to 5 students if we only use MCAS as an indicator. If we use DIBELS and MAP as indicators, which you'll see in the plan, every child in all of the schools participate in that. And so that's why, but it's a really good question, and I wanted to address it publicly so people know why.
No,
so we tried to quantify that a little better, and so we absolutely look forward to your feedback as well.
Okay, that was great. I thank you for that.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah, this is like the 1 millionth iteration of this plan, totally. So absolutely, we appreciate it. We've been working on it quite a bit together.
Okay.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Moskovich, and then Mrs. Cormier.
So I actually did quickly read what you said, and I'm pleased what was in it. So I just wanted to comment on the original goal, which was 80% of students proficient on the MCAS. There's nothing wrong with that goal. Actually, it's a wonderful goal. What I think is important is to understand that it's going to take 4 or 5 years to get there. And this clarifies that, and I think using DIBELS and MAPS as interim goals makes a lot of sense. But there's a lot of reasons for that. One is that you can actually, you measure them all throughout the year. And another is, by the end of we don't have to wait for the MCAS to come out. One thing I put in the comments I sent you, which is is more or less reflected, but I just wanted to emphasize this, is partly comes out of the discussions that Kristen and Joe and I have been having in the Advisory Committee on Special Education, and part from experience from the program that I helped run, which is on a regular basis, and this is kind of in what you said, to have the grade level team at a school with the principal and the special education teacher look at every single student who's fallen behind, and then think about what she needs and how you're going to get it. And that, to the extent you're doing that, I think it gives comfort to yourselves, because you can see it, and to us, not that we need to be there, but knowing that you're doing this. I think most of you have probably heard this, but many of the special education parents have said that in prior years, they would come to the IEP and whoever was running it would say, well, we're planning on 1 year's worth of progress for your child. Well, if she's way behind, or he's way behind, he needs more than that. And so the idea of taking each child and figuring out where you hope he or she will be at the end of the year, and then saying, well, each week she needs to move this far, and then meeting fairly quickly. You do progress monitor, so I assume that means that if a student is way behind, you test him more often? Yeah.
Every
So
2
that,
weeks.
sorry?
Every 2 weeks.
Yeah, perfect. So that progress of testing often and then getting your team in, there's nothing wrong with your doing it for everybody, but I think at some point, each school's grade level team has to sit down and say, okay, there's 5 kids, what are we going to do? And I think everybody would feel really, really good about that we're aiming to move children ahead, and farther ahead if they're behind. Now, you could, your interim goal of 80% hitting benchmark on dibbles may be, I don't mean to criticize you for being more ambitious, but if it took 2 years to get 80% there, that would still be really neat. So I was kind of thinking what I would suggest, and my version was, not that you need to adopt it, but everyone who is proficient in the fall should be proficient in the spring. And everybody, if you want to think of it this way, who's yellow, in the yellow, intermediate, that half of them would make it the first year. And for the students that were red, that half of them would move to yellow. But whatever, some sort of goal makes a lot of sense. Anyway, I like this progress, this process. I think this back and forth is very nice. And I have to say, the idea that you guys talk about this together is really neat. I think it's just so much better to do it that way. And all that, when teachers in different schools are doing roughly the same thing, they're going to learn a lot from each other.
Absolutely. Thank you. Mrs. Cormier.
So Mr. Brown covered my thoughts on the outcomes of really having those measurable, kind of easily measurable, but honestly, my main feedback is thank you. This is fantastic to be able to see this written together and so clearly and thoughtfully, things that can be measured and improving for our students. And as a parent, Eureka Math is awesome. I see those worksheets all the time coming home.
Eureka Math Square.
Eureka Math Square. Right?
Exponentially better.
Yes, it is. You can tell. I can see what is happening in the results. Just my little anecdote. It's fantastic. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you for that feedback as well.
No, I'm sorry. It's a bad math dad joke.
Yeah.
Mrs. Sams, did you have any questions?
Mine is just more of a request rather than a question. So when we do our Dibbles presentations, if you could just remind us of this 80% goal,
Yes, yep.
so then we're looking at it, that would be appreciated.
Of course, thank you.
Mine is a question, not necessarily for you, Mrs. Andel, but for any of the principals. We've made the shift from having 2 early dismissals every month to having just 1, but have it be longer this year. And I assume I'm assuming that that's been going to be good for this process of doing data meetings, but how is that going to work out? Is that something we should continue? Is that a model we should continue to do as we move forward next year? This experiment that we've made that shift, is that going to be something helpful that would continue to benefit kids?
I think as long as Aaron's open to all of us coming to the faculty. But tying in with what Ed just said, I think it's a long-lasting and welcome change for the teachers, because there is that sense of camaraderie, and then the consistency, I think, ripples out into the principals as well, and the directors and curriculum folks, that when we have meetings, that we have that shared first and second goal. And there's great strength in that, because I'm always saying all of us are smarter than one of us, and so to receive the feedback. But I think for the teachers of getting together as one assembled body of 100 and then a breakout, it's like, it's the feel of a mini conference almost, that you're going and be able to take the time and get into it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Versus like a hour, 45 minutes or something like that.
And what are, oh, you can steal from Ed.
So just to add on a little bit about what Principal Leahy said, yesterday I think we can go deeper. I think that's the initial impression. It's still early. We've only had a couple, but I feel like so far we're able to go deeper, because it's our district curriculum team, it's assistant principals, it's building leaders, and it's all of our elementary staff. And so yesterday, in looking at the data, I feel like we were able to go a lot deeper. Just an initial reflection, we had our EL teacher working directly with teachers on accommodations and strategies for kids during the wind block. Our special education teachers are doing the same thing. So it's the conversations that develop about, hey, here's what we can do for this child, here's what we can do. And we can go a lot deeper because we have a larger chunk of time. And yes, we do appreciate using the Atkinson cafeteria for that. So thanks, Aaron.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, I have a very quick question.
Yep.
I don't know what an FCI is.
Facilitator of collaborative inquiry.
Sorry?
Facilitator of collaborative inquiry.
It's what we're called, that's a teacher.
It's our
That's
Teacher,
a teacher
lead
leader.
teachers.
Our term.
Oh, thank you.
We try to get fancy sometimes, you know.
Acronym soup.
Thank you so much for the first two goals. I deeply appreciate it. And now, do we get to hear from the Atkinson?
Yes. Excellent. All right.
I'm so excited.
I know, it's been like 8th grade, right?
I know. I love the Atkinson.
Your kids are in
8th
eighth?
grade.
I know. All right. So our third goal, as you can see up here, is by the end of the school year, the newly merged elementary school community will demonstrate a cohesive school culture where all students, families, and staff feel a sense of belonging, engagement, and shared identity, as measured by school climate data, participation rates, and stakeholder feedback. So at Atkinson, we have a very diverse population, which we're also proud of. We have over 40 countries represented and 30 languages are spoken. So we want to embrace that diversity of our community. We focus on all values of race, which are our district values, including respect, achievement, inclusion, service, and empathy. But we're hyper-focused on the inclusivity part as part of this goal, where we want all staff, students, and families to feel included at Atkinson. So one of our action steps this year was to look at our open house format, where in the past, since I've been in North Andover, and Kristen made me feel old asking how many years have we been here. It's 24 years for me. But anyway, so we have had the format where parents attend, you hear about the curriculum, but this year we decided we wanted to increase that attendance, so we met as a staff and we talked about having kids attend with their parents and lead their parents through the open house. So we had staggered times in the building where different grade levels came at different times. And many classrooms did a format where they had like scavenger hunts, so the students could use the scavenger hunt as talking points about areas and assignments that they wanted to show their caregivers. And they were also able to introduce their caregivers to the classroom teacher
And they were able to share curriculum resources that they had on their desks and to talk about those resources. And then a lot of kids had completed assignments like newspaper articles all about me. So they really were proud of themselves showing their classrooms. So we wanted the voices of all stakeholders based on that experience. So we did send staff and caregivers a survey. The caregiver results showed that 63.8% of those in attendance preferred this format to 38.2% that did not. Additionally, almost 92% of the caregivers reported that they had the opportunity with this format to socialize with other Atkinson families. 95% of the staff who responded preferred this format. And they rated the experience as excellent in one of our questions. Additionally, some of our teachers and our amazing guidance counselors had the opportunity to interview some of our students. So I don't know if you can show that video, just a quick video.
Hi, Torin. Well, what is one thing you loved about open house this year?
I loved showing my mom how hard I worked.
And you were such a hard worker. What was one of the things you were excited to show her?
I was excited to show her the newspaper that I made.
Oh, that's amazing. How did you feel when you got to show your mom the newspaper?
I felt proud.
As you should. Thank you so much for sharing.
Hi, Angel.
Hi, Miss Sheridan.
What was your favorite part of this year's open house?
My favorite part about open house was showing my mom my magazine, and it was all about me and what I
That sounds so cool. So when you brought mom to open house, did you get to read the I Am poem with her?
Yes, I did.
That's awesome. How did she feel when she was reading that with you?
She felt happy and glad.
I can imagine. You are so smart and you work so hard at school. Thanks, Angel.
You're welcome.
They were so cute.
Made my ears cry.
A bunch of kids wanted to participate, and I was like, I can't make this video 10 minutes long. But they were so cute. So looking to the future, we plan to do more events and then to hear the voices again of all of our stakeholders. So we plan to do a multicultural night and then arts and academic night where the caregivers are all going to be invited. And then another action step that we're doing throughout this year is we have monthly raise assemblies. Our first assembly focused on all of our values, explaining expectations, and then next week we have our pep rally where the high school student athletes will be coming to visit, and we'll focus on achievement. That's always the kids' favorite. Are you both coming?
I'm a captain, so I'll see you there.
Okay. All right. Great. Bring your spirit. And lastly, I just wanted to talk about something that we're super proud of also, counselor classroom. So again, having 2 guidance counselors has been instrumental. But what we do, in addition to their daily check-ins and lunch groups and providing services to students, once a month, you talked a little bit about this, the collaboration of teachers to focus on students and what are some more instructional practices they can implement. So it's nice to have that grade level time. While one counselor is meeting with the grade level, the rest of the grade is meeting with the other counselor, and they're doing something called Counselor's Classroom. And they focus on a lesson associated with RAISE. So this past week, we focused on empathy and, how to be a good friend and how to solve problems in a respectful way. So they did a lot of role playing. So those are some of the things happening at Atkinson, again, to promote that inclusivity of all stakeholders.
Thank you.
I like the movie this year. We did that this year.
I thought that was the kid saying, my principal's great.
Not wrong. Thank you so much, Mrs. O'Loughlin. Questions for the Atkinson School?
Yeah, I just have 2 comments.
Absolutely.
So when we're looking at the whole packet, right, you have on there the re-envisioned back to school open house night. So do you consider that then as goal met, that was a success, or is there?
Yes,
Okay.
I would consider that a huge success this year.
Okay. And then my other question was, when we look at the slide, it has some really great measurable things, but it doesn't seem translated over here. Is that something that will be put in there as measurable goals? I just didn't know why that this was more supposed to be more detailed, but it seems it's more detailed on the slide. Does
No,
that make
that's great
sense?
feedback. We could adjust. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Great.
Well, so I just was quickly looking at the ones you sent me later this afternoon, and it does look like it changed the outcomes, right? So they now are more specific with like, for example, Atkinson, I was just looking at that one. Family participation will increase 20 percentage points over FY25 level. So that's something you can actually measure, right? You know what you had last year, you know what you did this year. You can see if you hit that at 3 school events. So this would be probably one of them, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay, thank you.
And to your point, the idea that like the surveys are going out the beginning, middle, end of the year, Eric, we could write some goals around like what percentage of, raising the percentage of families that feel welcomed or whatever the survey question is, we could be more specific there. So goal met about the open house, but the idea that the intention is to do this 3 times a year. So we could set some goals for people feeling more included as the year went on.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for reimagining and rethinking what it means for a parent to go to family night. I've always struggled, I think schools will struggle with that in terms of like how many parents show up is then a marker of like parent engagement, which I've always struggled with because for me it's always like, no, that's a marker of how my parents could get there that night. But I think what you've done by shifting it from being teachers sharing things to a real community or a classroom-centered event is that when parents are coming, they're not just there to listen to things they might or might not know about, but they're there to interact with their kids and to experience something. And I feel that dynamic really shifts what it's about. I think it's going to change the way parents their proclivity to maybe come to more events with that positive outcome. So thank you for doing that, because sometimes for our parents, coming into a classroom is like, don't always might not have had the best experience going to school. Now, why would I go back to a classroom where I'm going to feel those things again? But doing something with your kid and learning through their eyes and sharing their learning experience is not that or what it was. So thank you. I appreciate it.
When we were practicing for this presentation, I just love the picture on the far right here because the learning is at the center and the family is sort of wrapped around the child in this beautiful place that we call school. And it just really captures that for me. So I agree.
Thank you. Up next, we have the Thompson.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. Chris is here.
Awesome.
Hello, good evening.
It's your last one in the packet, though, or at least it was in my packet, so you might have to search
I
through
know,
to get the.
in all the
full-
years, I always go last because
I
of
know,
the
'cause-
T school, but I'm second this year, so that feels a little bit
That's why I was
different.
confused. Like,
I
did the
know.
alphabet change?
Keeping you on your
Mix it up.
toes, Mr.
Kept you on your
Hicks.
toes.
Keeping you all on your toes. So as you can see by the goal, I won't reread it for my presentation. It's the same goal. As Kristen and Aaron mentioned, our goal is in common, but our strategies, activities, and our action steps might be different depending on our school community. So at Thompson, I'm going to kind of frame it by 4 different buckets tonight. So we're building culture really at the community level, the school level, the classroom level, and at the end I'll speak a little bit about the individual leader level myself. So this is represented again in the strategies and activities which you received and some of our pictures that we have on our slide tonight. So at the community level, we began the year with a new PTO board, and our new PTO sent out a member survey, and there's a screenshot of the top of that at the bottom of the slide. Some of the questions in our survey included asking our parents about our fundraisers and our community events, and which ones they felt we should continue, we should change, or we should retire. And if they selected change or retire, parents had an option to write a brief comment to us about their thoughts. The survey also asked about ideas for new projects, programs, or fundraisers, and recommendations that they might have that could enhance the educational and community experience for our students at Thompson. And then finally, the last part of the survey, they were asked if they had an interest in serving on a committee and what skills, knowledge, or community connections they had that they'd be willing to share for community events and fundraising. And so we actually have already incorporated one piece of the feedback from our survey, which was, hey, what about a movie night during Fall Festival? So we did incorporate that for the first time this year. In our weekend Fall Festival movie night, which was actually just last weekend, drew over 300 people, which was a dramatic increase from our Fall Festival trunk or treat. The trunk or treat sort of gone by the boards post-COVID. It's decreasing as you get farther and farther away from the pandemic. And then I would have you take a look at the picture on the far left up there in the slide is our actual, our annual, ice cream social. And we paired that with our book fair. So that evening, our parents got to get an ice cream if they chose with their child, shop at the book fair, and mingle. And that's always a really popular event. And I would say we probably had about 300 people at that event as well. And I know we've talked a little bit about measuring, and prior to me starting, we talked about increases from sort of last year to this year in our community events. So that's something I've already talked about with the PTO board, and we're looking at that. Each event we have, we're looking at, how are we doing, what is it looking like, and what's the feedback as we go through the year, so we can continue to refine going forward. And obviously, we'll resurvey our parent population later in the year to see where we're at. At the school level, we're continuing with our all-school meetings, which at Thompson we call community meetings. And this year, we began with an all-school read in every classroom using the book I Am We, which there's a screenshot up there, and that's by author Susan Verdi. And so I just want to read to you this, a brief snippet from the inside jacket cover of the book. And they say, quote, I Am We shows us what true community looks like and the amazing things that can happen when we come together. So we felt that was a very important theme this year, given the district changes that were affecting the elementary level, the inclusion of new students, students from ABEC, the number of new staff at Thompson. We have 15 new staff members this year, which is about 25% of our staff. That was not necessarily budget related. It was a combination of things, including retirements, some wonderful teaching assistants who got certified and they went off to get teaching jobs. So when you put it all, that bucket all together, there were 15 people. And the other thing we're looking at this year with our all-school meetings is we're engaging with our PTO, and we've written a grant already to bring in, supplement some of our all-school meetings with outside presenters and speakers who focus on social emotional learning. So we're going to intermingle the work that we've done historically as a staff. We feel like we're at a good place where we've really done a lot of work with our raise expectations and our routines. So we want to intermingle some of that with some outside presenters who might come in throughout the year. And in the slides, you'll actually see in the middle slide there, that's our wonderful school counselor, Stacy Foster, and that's actually a fourth grade grade level meeting, and she's reviewing school expectations and raise with the students. And this year, one of the things we added is our student council members are coming to the grade level meetings. Our fifth grade student council members, the teachers have graciously allowed them to be released so they could come and they could be a part of this, because they all have a buddy class throughout the building. So they're coming, depending on what grade they are paired up with or classroom, they come to those meetings. So that's a new addition this year, which we're excited about. The last thing I would say at the school level is we're looking at relationship mapping activities with students, and the question, our why for that, is we're looking to ensure that every student in our building has a trusted connection with at least one adult. And that's really based on research. The Safe Schools research points to that. So we're looking at a process moving forward to that. We dabbled in it in the spring, and it was a very powerful activity for all of our staff to do, and seeing how many kids had connections and where were we weak in that area. So we're going to be doing that later this fall, and then we're going to use the results of that to really look at how are we doing, and are there students that we're not as connected with? Why? And what can we intentionally do? What are our actions to be intentional to make sure those students are connected as well to our larger community? Finally, at the classroom level, there's some wonderful first graders over there who are sitting in that fantastic circle, and that is a morning meeting in one of our first grades. So our responsive classroom is continuing throughout the building. We met as a staff on priorities we wanted to see in every classroom. Those are being implemented this year. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our staff. They're a wonderful staff who are really working hard on the classroom expectations and the routines related to that. And then finally, at the individual level, we're all learners, including me. Kristen asked us for years. I'm embarrassed to say I'm now the top of this group in 30 years, which I still remember being like 24 years old in elementary school, thinking I was the young person. Now I'm the old guy in the school.
Happens to the best of us.
I know. So as a leader, learning continues with me. So I am really blessed to have our assistant principal for student services, Danielle Bond, this year. So with her in the building, I feel more comfortable, I guess, because, you know, we're educators. We like to control things. It's hard to be out if you're a leader. So I feel more comfortable being out. So I was asked to be part of the, I have to look at it because I'm still learning it, Essex County Learning Community with other district leaders. So we had a meeting this week, and we were starting to look at some of the results of the district survey that went out, and we plan to continue to extend that a little bit longer. We'd like to get a little bit more data to sort of verify where we think we're going for action steps as a next step. We have a pretty good solid idea based on what we have, but we feel like getting a few more voices heard will help us sort of confirm, yep, we're on the right track and this is the direction we want to take. And I am sort of representing elementary, so I'll be working closely with my colleagues on our work and what we're doing and other district leaders so we can sort of move forward together as one.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Questions for Thompson?
What was that, the organization that you were referring to in the last part of your presentation?
Essex County Learning Community.
Learning Community, thank you.
Yes.
Principals from across the district?
It's different people. So it's the cohort that I joined the other day is North Andover, Peabody, Georgetown, and Pentucket. And it's kind of a mix. And one of the towns actually has some students because they're at that place where they need that input. We have there's assistant superintendents, there's principals, but there's also like our group is an adjustment counselor, Ms. Larkham, parent liaison. So it's a wide mix of people, really depending on what the community is looking at and what their goals are going forward. So.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So I have a question. This might be more appropriate for Ms. Ando. I'm not sure. So just comparing back to the school improvement plans that we saw last meeting for the middle school, one of the things that I liked in there is that in the outcomes, it talked about including staffing recommendations in order to meet those goals, resource recommendations in order to meet those goals. Are those going to be baked in here too? Or I'm assuming that you have resource recommendations and staffing recommendations. Will you get that to us some other way?
We're trying to bake it in as best we can. I think you've heard them all mention their assistant principal or the additional administrator that they have in the building, which I don't want to speak for them, but has been game-changing as far as being able to.
Steal my line.
I know, exactly. And so we're trying our best to bake it in, and we will also include additional recommendations as well.
To meet these goals. Okay,
So
thank you.
You'll hear, you probably have already heard, you'll hear from the other two. The three of our elementary schools have two counselors. Thompson School does not, so it's the one school that does not have two counselors that are, they do have a second counselor, but is primarily devoted to a specialized program. So it is something that we have seen the benefit of having two counselors at the other schools, so you'll probably hear about that in the budget.
Right, thank you.
All right, I have just a couple comments. Now, you talked about every student having at least one trusted adult in the school community. How are students able to, I guess, that trusted adult may not always be in the classroom, right? So how are students able to easily access that trusted adult. Like I know who my daughter's trusted adult is, right? And I know how she has access, but I don't know how other students, once they're identified who that is, how do they easily have access to that trusted adult?
That's a good question, Alyssa. That's part of the job that we do through the mapping, because a trusted adult, we often think about our classroom teachers, and often they are the trusted adult, but it can be a teaching assistant. It could be Mr. Ken, our custodian. It could be somebody in the lunchroom. And so part of, I think, one of the things that's important for all of you to know, like, my big belief is first and foremost in relationships. And so it's something I impart to the staff. You can't get to the other stuff unless you know the kids. And so I think it's important that we understand as a staff the kids, who they are connected to. So if you understand the kids and know the kids, you start to learn the connections that they have and who that is. And then it's easier to just make that happen for them and allow them the time and space to do that. There's already been some examples of that happening this year. So let's say someone's having a tough time, or somebody, like, there might be somebody that gets called to come in because, and it's usually not me or somebody else, because we know that they have a good relationship with the child, and it can have a really game-changing effect on whatever is happening. So part of it is incumbent on us to try to learn those things. The mapping activity does help, but I think it's something that we're trying to pay attention to on a continuous basis, because we always want the kids to be able to access somebody. It's like nothing is ever so important at the moment that they can't, like, leave to go talk to somebody else, because the work will get done. And so, but that's an excellent question. Something I think we can reflect further on as we go through this process and talk a little bit about if we have those structures and those things in place for kids. So.
All right, thank you.
Well, I mean, I like
Mr.
Are you not done?
Sorry, yeah, just a couple more things. And one thing, and this had come to mind because my daughter had recognized a younger student having a very difficult time, so she shared her trusted adult with that student, said, I know someone who can help you, and was able to bring that student to her trusted adult. So keeping in mind those connections, also other students are sharing that, and that could help with some of those connections. The other thing I wanted to comment on was the movie night, which was awesome and a great success. One of the things I really appreciated is that the movie that was shown was Coco, and I thought that helped make it more culturally inclusive for the student population. So I'd love to see more, like, when activities are done across the schools, thinking about those culturally inclusive activities and how we can make those happen.
And that's actually part of the work that I'm learning, because I'm joining in year 2. So on the Essex County Learning Community, the ECLC, that's something we're talking about. So that was a lot of our team time on Tuesday was devoted to that, and looking at what's our population in North Andover? What's our overall population? And is that being reflected in the survey? Why or why not? And then what steps do we need to take to extend the survey a little bit longer so we can get certain voices to make sure they're all included in there? I think it's going to confirm where we want to go already, but we want to make sure we verify that through the data that we're getting from people. So,
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to follow up. I think that idea makes a lot of sense. I'm just trying to figure out, as she said, how does it work? I'm a 3-year-old, I'm upset at something, I want to find my...
Well, you're at the wrong school.
I hope I don't have any 3-year-olds.
I'm a very advanced 3-year-old. Well, you can see why I'm upset. All these big kids around.
They're 6, but yeah.
All right, so I'm a 2nd grader.
There you go.
And something's gone wrong. I want to see my trusted adult. How do I do that? I mean, I'm in the middle of class. Like, how does this... How do I find him or her, and when do I do it?
It could be in the moment. It could be letting kids know we hear you, and we can set up a time for you to meet with them. It can be a note. It can be the teacher saying, let me email them and let them know, and when they're free. I think there's a variety of ways we can do it, and I think the questions are good because it's something we can then reflect on and make sure we're we have those things in place for kids. Those are the things I'm telling you are things we already sort of do. But I don't think it's an exhaustive, I don't know what the word is, like, there's plenty of ways we can still continue to look at that, so.
And say, I think that he does a lot, a lot of it's done naturally. So I was at one of my
Mhm.
visits at the Thompson
you.
School, and we were walking through the classrooms, and I'm sure that Mr. Ramey doesn't even realize he did this, but, you know, he said to one student, who I would maybe assume that you may be his trusted adult, don't forget, we have a date at, lunch this afternoon, or I'll be, checking in, or you're having lunch in my room. Or, the teachers just, like, he got something on the walkie once that somebody needed some support. So he said, I'm just going to step out for a minute. I just need to get someone to go to that room because that child needs that person. So I think it sort of is a natural flow that is happening in lots of the schools. I do think that it'll evolve to maybe where I think Ms. Sams was talking about, you may have like a list of, or you said, of who's matched to who in the building. So like as a classroom teacher, you might know who's matched, but I think it's happening a lot more organically than we even know is happening. But you want to make sure you hit all those kids.
3-year-olds, we have little kids that are unpredictable of when they need it. So when I was at the high school, when we did, yes, thank you. I was going to say with NEASC several, like 15 or 18 years ago, and they said, who is the child's trusted adult at the high school? So you could set up blocks of time and manage it that way as a system. In an elementary setting, no. And I was going to offer it too. I know Chris, all of us would do it on class placement. When you start thinking about information that you're sharing with the next year's teacher, all of those things in layers get as information. And then I know we all rely on our guidance counselors as well too. So, but I do think it's organic as well, and it's fluid. It could be twice a day, it could be once a week, it could be once a month.
Yeah.
And then you need great kids like your daughter that says, I know somebody that can help you.
Yeah.
I think what's really important about that, the idea of a trusted adult, is that when a kid knows that there's someone there, that even if you never do anything with them and you say hi to them once in a while, when a kid knows that there's someone there that will do that, just like the idea of that makes a kid feel safer going to school. And like just knowing that a person exists is the goal. And most of them are never going to need anything else from somebody other than, oh, you're there. Thank you. Yeah. And that was the whole impetus behind going to an advisory model too. Like in a big school, how do you make sure a kid has somebody they know exists just in case?
Is that what, I think you mentioned something called a mapping activity? Was this the same topic? So, okay, so it's maybe not quite so formal, but you have at least a rough idea? Well, I would imagine each classroom teacher has a pretty good idea for each child who that person is likely to be or is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what you meant by organically, right? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to the sergeant. Sharks? We're sharks.
Wow, they're leaving Randowski for the last, huh?
Well, I'm just going the order of the.
How are we dragging?
Exactly.
I'm going. It's her fault, not mine.
I know the slide, sorry.
Yes, Sergeant School. I have just a couple quick notes to tell you too, and then we'll walk through the slides. But I first I'm so happy that you suggested about that you suggested about forecasting out needs. I won't take up time now on the needs, but I want to just tell you how thankful I am of the ways that we have been supported by the leadership of Kristen and Pam and Lynn O'Neill as well, but on forecasting out for the budget, that Pam kept her principal hat on for us last year and sincerely was able to identify every school. I came in 2014 to Sergeant, and I was a .5 assistant principal for 2 years, and we were promised then, that was 2014, that we would be getting a full-time assistant principal. And then under Pam's leadership, that we were able to make that happen in the budget season that we were in, and the creative processes that they collectively, as Lynn called it, a unicorn of being able to have an educational team leader that ran special ed with a vice principal. So I have to open with that because the game changer for Sergeant School this year has been the addition of the two, in order for this goal to be met, had 2 guidance counselors. That my hat goes off to Jillian Conley for 450 kids that she was handling by herself was just above and beyond. So now to have a second guidance counselor in with her has been remarkable. So I want to highlight that. And then Ellen Peters is a superhero in my book, that the work that we're able to do together, and then the instructional pieces that we're able to get to, because you're not just flying solo to do all of it with the radio calls and so forth. The next person that I want to just highlight too, that we put her in the best position that I think she was born to be in, is Michelle O'Leary as the Director of Social Emotional Learning. The support that she has offered our school this year, and I worked with her at the high school, but to be able to text her and have her over within hours or in an hour has been remarkable. And I know she has supported all of us that way, because student need has become more complex with the social emotional learning piece of it. So to have the support of her connected and supporting our guidance counselors has been enormous. So I really wanted to highlight that. So for Sargent School, one of the things that we're doing in trying to reach this goal this year, because I prided myself on the school culture at Sargent of bringing a team together for the last 12 years that I have been there. I had a faculty meeting last Wednesday, or whatever day, 2 weeks ago, I guess, and I told the new teachers from Kittredge, which I've stopped calling them, I call them Sharks now, but merging with we had 20 new staff that I did not hire. I absorbed, not just Kittredge, but the same like with some TA movement and so forth. So when you get 20 coming into your team of 70 already, I get very protective, because I'm proud of the team that we've built. So the 20 that have come in, I told them in a faculty meeting, I feel like I'm coaching an all-star team now, that we've got terrific teachers that have come, that have been super supportive, and really made great connections in building relationships with the staff. So one of the things, of course, we want to make sure with this goal that we focus on is we can see it with the staff, we can see it, but with parents. Our PTO is a highly engaged group that's really done some terrific work early in the year and continue to do. We have a pivot person from the Kittredge that was the liaison in the PTO to bring more Kittredge parents into the PTO. So it's been really successful that way, but it's still all about the kids. And so our guidance team has taken on the endeavor of talking and surveying all 585 students 3 times a year. At first, I thought, are you staying at night? How are you going to get this done for 585? But they've just been remarkable. So we want to get face-to-face time and get a pulse on with the students. So the top 2 pictures are actually live pictures, I think from this week, that we took. Jillian Connolly on the right and Kristen Coffey on the left. So they're meeting with each individual student, and the survey that they're asking them are just a few simple questions like, how do you feel this year is going so far? What do you like about this school year? What things make you feel calm, happy, and ready to learn? What are some things that you don't like about the school year? What are you nervous or worried about? And then specifically for Kittredge and for new students from the ABECC and kids that have moved into Sargent, this question was made, how do you feel about your transition to Sargent? Is there anything you miss about your old school that you wish Sargent had? Because we're continuing to try to merge any new traditions from Kittredge to bring them to Sargent. And so it's ambitious, but they're tackling it. So 3 times a year to have these surveys done for every student is remarkable. The other thing that's been super helpful that I've enjoyed that Erin and I are doing this year is the work with CLE, which Kristen spoke about. We are meeting with other principals from in New England, outside of New England, down the mid-Atlantic, that are all being able to confirm some of the work everyone's doing on social emotional learning. And so we're sharing some goals amongst each other, which has been really helpful. So the school, so the data that's coming from the guidance counselors will be enormous to have for the 3 times of the year. The parent survey, which we're also working on with CLE, that they've, in addition to Kristen, they looked at our school improvement goal. We have teachers, parents, students on a mapping CLE piece that Erin and I have done to meet. Now we've met twice, and we have another one coming up next month. Kristen and I are going down to the conference
We're not just going to the conference, Miss Leahy.
Yeah.
What are you doing at the conference?
Yes. CLE. First time I went to CLE, I said I have no glee for CLE. It was the first. It was the first week of school. It was a lot of demanding hours of stuff to put in. Come on, be real. It really was. but now I like them a lot, so I'm presenting at their conference.
That's quite the 180.
Yes, it was. It was. So my other data point that I want to tell you is that bottom picture, that my children went to the Thompson School, my own children, and when I was teaching at the high school, I used to say to the high school students, what school did you go to, elementary? And when they said Thompson, I would start to sing the Thompson birthday song. And they would join me, juniors and seniors in high school. So when I became principal, I went to my music teacher and I said, I want a song that will beat out the Thompson at the time.
Is there still a Thompson birthday song?
There's an old one, I could sing it for you, but
I was asking Thompson.
I know. But anyway, so how I used this data point is we have close to 600 kids. Every single morning we go outside. If it's your birthday, you hold the flag and we sing. And I can tell you that now every teacher that has joined the staff knows the birthday song. And it's just wonderful to see. It's the best way to start your day for me, for a school this large to be assembled. And to have the students that engaged. So that's a great data point for me outside. I did say that I had a little second grade boy say, you know, my birthday's in April. And I said, I've got it right here, don't worry. And parents have said, I've actually canceled a doctor's appointment because my kid was supposed to hold the flag today. So it's been really, really fun. And I'm so grateful to the staff that have joined us this year, that have embraced it as well as a tradition at Sargent School. So Kristen, if you will.
Yes, absolutely. You want to learn the birthday song, everybody?
Oh, we have?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to ask.
Hold on,
Quick question, what do you do for the kids who have birthdays in July and all?
Oh, we do them in this, like, late spring.
Late June?
Yep.
Okay, go back into slideshow mode. Sorry, I'm clunky with my...
And then click right, yep.
Got it, thank you.
If you didn't bring it, I was going to make you sing it yourself.
I would have.
2, 3, 4.
That's great.
And I have to give a big shout out to Jason Shelkowitz, our music teacher. He wrote it, and he also wrote the Raise song, which if you go to our website, it's on it. And we do it for every assembly, too. It's really fun. I just think when you get kids singing, it's a blast, and they remember it. And I can attest to it from being a high school teacher that they remember. Allie, I wanted her to stay because she was a Sergeant Shark, and she knows both those songs. I could have had her sing them.
Next week.
Yeah, ask her.
Questions for Karen?
I think you all have different challenges this year in terms of like number of new staff, but I think the Sargent School in terms of number of new kids is particularly challenging. And so thank you for that's an ambitious goal to survey. Like that's 1,800 surveys to complete, like for 2 people, like wow. But thank you for that, because I think like learning about what kids need on an ongoing basis is so instrumental, and like the challenge of like making the 2 very different communities feel like one is like a worthy goal. So I deeply appreciate that.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Well, just a quick suggestion. Do you know what SurveyMonkey is?
I do.
Oh, because it's so much easier that way.
Well,
They're using a program.
I do want to tell you, I forgot to say that. Michelle O'Leary, through a grant, that's the Director of Social Emotional Learning, she shared with us at a principals meeting that if any of your guidance counselors want to use it, it's called Lenny Learning. And it's actually what they're using. I think it's better than SurveyMonkey. And so they're using it, and it's able to produce the data, quickly and what they need and to see. And
it saves all kinds of time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sure thing.
And last but certainly not least, our Franklin School. What's the Franklin mascot? I don't. The dragon. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get probably emails about that one. And now to hear from the Franklin Dragons.
Thank you. You're going to hear some similarities that you might have already heard from my colleagues, but my goal kind of revolves around inclusion inclusion for me personally as a new administrator is very important. I want to make sure that my staff, my family, and my students all feel included. So up there on the left-hand side is a picture of my staff at the opening day staff meeting. We were doing a collective resume activity where we worked as a group. So I intentionally created groups of the staff to work together to share their expertise and show that the Franklin staff, new and veteran, have lots of strengths and to work collaboratively. I'm building a new administrative team, so Caitlin Queenan is my assistant principal of student services. So over the summer and at the start of the year and throughout the year, we're doing one-to-one or small group meetings with staff to learn about what they feel is important about Franklin, what they feel is needs improvements or areas of growth. So it's been really nice to hear from staff in those one-on-one meetings and start to put some things in place that they want to see. We are working at our first school council meeting. We are working on a family survey, so we're working with our school council to develop that survey. We're going to send it out November, March, and June to get feedback from the Franklin community on what's important to them to make improvements at Franklin. And we are also doing all school meetings. You heard about that before, but that's something new to Franklin. We have started all school meetings. We run it as a similar format to the morning meeting, which students are used to doing for the responsive classroom. So the picture there in the middle is Kelly Trainer, fourth grade teacher. The first meeting was in September, and it was based on inclusion. So those students are sharing what inclusion looks like and sounds like throughout the school. So it was talking about expectations. It was an opportunity for myself to, share my hopes and dreams for the Franklin School. One thing I talked about in my interview and I believe strongly in is student voice. So really getting the students to have a part of these all-school meetings. So I'm working with my leadership team, the facilitators of collaborative inquiry, the lead teacher, and students to plan those all-school meetings. The next one is next Wednesday. And I am also very lucky to have two school counselors. Carla Doolin joined us from the Kittredge Elementary School, and you'll see one of the action steps was lunch groups. So in September, Carla and Amanda did some lunch groups with just the Kittredge students to hear from them. How's it going? Touch base. They love to do it. The kids love doing that, and they made a big long list of things that they used to do at Kittredge that they want to do at Franklin. So next week we're going to be rolling out this big giant green monster. They used to collect candy, so we're super excited. We're going to do that service project at Franklin, and I'm working with. We are establishing a student council. That's something that Franklin hasn't had for many years. My children went to Franklin and they had a student council then, so we're bringing it back. So we're Kelly Trainer and Kristen Hamway are developing a student council with. We had many applicants, so we're going to be introducing the new student council at this all-school meeting. And finally, that picture on the right is. A picture of the CPAC table at the Fall Fest. So we're working collaboratively with the CPAC to make sure that our school events are inclusive and have access to for all the students. The Franklin School houses the RISE program, which is reaching independence through structured environment. So we have 3 classrooms this year, and it's really important that we're thoughtful about how we include and plan for those events. One thing we did for open house is we made sure that there was a time for the RISE families to go to their RISE classroom as well as visit their general education classroom. And we're working closely to think about our all-school meetings and other larger events that they could be inclusive and participate. So that's Franklin.
Thank you so much. Any questions from the?
Yes.
Mr. Baum?
I'm curious what an all-school meeting agenda would look like, or what goes on.
So we're following the same format as responsive classrooms. So we start with a greeting. We're actually going to start by doing the Pledge of Allegiance, because the first meeting we did the pledge we do it over the announcements. We do birthday and Pledge of Allegiance over the announcements, but we decided, why are we doing that and then all coming down to the cafeteria? So we're going to move but we'd start with some announcements. So we do a greeting, so the students do some sort of a fun little greeting with each other. There's some sort of a sharing activity. So for example, the students were sharing about inclusion. There was an activity, and these are all the same components that they do every morning for responsive classroom. And then the activity at the September meeting was Name That Tune. It was really fun. The kids loved that, and it got harder and harder. And then it ends with a message. So the message at the end was some of our fifth graders shared about Franklin traditions that they that we have at Franklin. So the message actually at the end of the meeting next week is going to be the new Franklin School song. Mr. Brinker wrote a song for Franklin, and the kids are going to sing it.
Okay, thank you.
Love
That's
it.
good. I
Thank
like
you.
that. I think that's probably gathers momentum, right? And as the months roll on, the kids will look forward to that.
Yeah,
It'll be
yeah. And we're doing it on that Wednesday that we have the half day. So it's except for we were supposed to have the fun run on this past Wednesday, but it poured. So then I moved the all school meeting to the next week. So then when it got rained out, I'm like, should I do the meeting tomorrow? I'm like, I'm not ready. So, but it'll be that Wednesday, so they can kind of look forward to it.
Yeah.
It's wacky anyway. Any other thoughts, comments?
So the idea of the student council is amazing. It'd be great too, is we have the 2 student reps from the high school. So it'd be great to see kind of how, just kind of moving forward, is there a place for the elementary school student councils to come and have a voice too, right? Mm-hmm. Would that work? Would that be a good opportunity for them? Would love to think about that.
Can we invite them back? I'm inviting them back. Mrs. Cormier, we're inviting them back to come and visit us and tell us what they would like to see better.
All right.
Speaking of which, one of the things, we get to see the school improvement plans, but we never get the follow-up. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if maybe towards the end of the school year, we can get a follow-up of what's been successful, what hasn't, what worked, what didn't.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more, but this is actually more district-wide, I think, because I noticed in your in the detailed plan it talks about attendance. There's this thing about attendance, and I was looking at the accountability data for us, and I offline I should probably review that with you so I don't misinterpret it. But I remember hearing Superintendent Lathrop talk about that too, about working on that. So can you comment kind of on what we're doing to try to, right? If kids aren't here, they can't learn, right? So what are we doing about trying to improve that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So if the kids aren't here, they can't learn, and if they don't feel safe, loved, and valued, they don't want to come, right?
Sure.
And so we've all had kids who are don't want to go to school, and kids that do, right? And so the idea that in creating our school environments, we want to come. The measure that we usually look at is the new-ish MCAS ability measure about chronic absenteeism, which is being absent more than 10% of the school year, or being absent more than 18 days in a school year, which can be devastating to somebody social emotionally as well as academically to miss that much of the school year. And and that's probably what you're looking at through the public data.
Yes.
Yep, chronic absenteeism. And so it's about connecting with families, getting support that kids need. And so chronic absenteeism is where we start, but I guess we also want to improve student attendance overall. And so, but we're probably narrowing in, does this child have a safe place that they feel like they can come to at school to sort of speak to all of these. But chronic absenteeism is a lot where that's one of our accountability measures, so we're trying to zero in there.
Okay. Yeah, I just happened to notice it was one of the three. It was in one of your three goals. So is it been a particular problem in that school?
No, it was just thinking about how do you measure like this type of a goal where it's about like culture and things like that. So I figured the attendance could be one way to measure.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
So sometimes we measure parent attendance, and sometimes we measure student
Yeah,
attendance, right? Like if you're there, we can work with you. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I just want to say, as a new,
I have something I want. Are you closing? Are you?
Okay, go first.
So we haven't heard anything about common planning time. This is sort of a general question. I assume there is some, but how much do teachers get, and can the grade level team do it together, that sort of thing?
Yeah, we meet, all teachers meet for almost an hour once a week, and we're doing both grade level teams, and I'd like to do with the whole school culture goal too, horizontally, where like 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A are all meeting together.
Right.
But we all have common, all teachers have the collaboration time.
All at the same time, or?
1 hour, Monday would be one grade, Tuesday would be another, Thursday would be another.
Oh, okay.
All 5 grades get in.
And sometimes certain grade levels have a common planning time. If like all the kids are at gym and art and specials, it doesn't happen every day, but they also have that time during the week.
Thank you. I was going to say, sometimes as a new principal, you walk into a building and it's easy just to accept the way things are, and like just because the systems are there and all that. But I really appreciate you thinking about like what's happening here. What is this? What do I want to exist in this building now? And being open to asking why do we do it that way? Perhaps we could do it some other way, and doing that in such a kind and empathetic manner. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. So again, it's our go ahead. These are our common goal played out different ways as we're integrating our 5 elementary schools into our 4 elementary schools, and I hope it shone through. Of course, we're all nervous about coming here and sort of exposing our school improvement plans. It's not easy work to do as a building leader, as a former building leader myself. It's not easy work to do, and I just said to them, talk about what's important to you. And I'm really hoping that came through in their presentation, that these things are very close to our people's hearts, and we're very lucky to have them leading our buildings.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, everybody.
We deeply appreciate it. Chair would entertain a motion.
I move we accept the school improvement plans for Atkinson, Franklin, Sargent, and Thompson.
Thank you very much.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
I'm going to give that to Dave. We deeply appreciate all the work you put into those. I know it's a long process to get to this point, and I really do appreciate the continuity that even on goal 3, although it's different action steps, the continuity and the thing that everybody's working on, I think really speaks to what the community as a whole needed this year, is to feel like school is school for everybody. So thank you. Mr. Moskovich.
Yes.
Mrs. Sams.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mrs. Cormier.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
We're only 8 minutes over. I am so proud of us.
It's good.
Thank you so much.
It's good.
I'll try to talk quick.
Moving on to the superintendent's report and central office updates.
All right. So I feel, I always try to think about what I'm going to put on that first page of the superintendent's report.
Thank you so much.
And I couldn't think of anything better to share other than this. I mean, right now, the North Andover Police Department, they proudly presented Annie this week. She's our new community resource dog. That's Mark Wilson, as you know, our community officer. What I love here is that her name was chosen in honor of Annie L. Sargent and Ann Bradstreet, 2 famous women in North Andover's history. They had a naming contest, if you didn't know, and people were able to write in, so I think that's great. So Annie's not quite ready yet to be doing some of her official work, but she did visit all areas of North Andover, so everybody had a chance to meet her. Annie is an English Labrador, and she's quite adorable. I heard she was visiting the schools, and I was really upset that she hadn't come to central office yet, and she finally did, and Lynn was yelling down the hall to me, or just yelling in general, somebody get Pam, Annie's here.
And it took all, like, the full sentence wasn't even out of Lynn's mouth before we were out of our chairs and walking down the hall to go cuddle with Annie.
She looks like she's got the stretch down pretty well already.
She is super cute and adorable and such a good little girl.
Yeah. And then just a couple of recognitions. There was lots that you heard today, but just a few just to point out. This is what Mr. Raymond was talking about. So this Tuesday, we had our team join the Essex County Learning Community Navigating Change. They're part of the Navigating Change cohort. So this is Essex County Learning Community is a learning community that was founded by Jane Feinberg. And it is supported through fund donors. There's some wonderful donors that support this community. Any district in Essex County is allowed to apply, so I feel like it's one of the things I did when I was still the assistant superintendent, was North Andover had never applied to be part of this community of resource, of this network, so I applied, had a short interview with Jane, and we were accepted. It's great because they offer lots of free professional development, where they offer an opportunity for our staff to get together. So this is this Navigating Change cohort is something that we might have done as a community or know we need to do, but they provide a space for us to be able to go, to be able to send a team, and provide the resources. We had a coach that was working with us. There are some things that they might ask communities to come together and pitch in, but Jane and her team finds ways to bring the communities together if she sees a need, so that you can share like resources. So if you're bringing in one speaker, you might pull your community together, or she'll pull the community together, and we might all pitch in a little bit to pay for it, but it's been great. So this is our team that was there this week. They're reviewing the data. The team is looking at our student engagement and achievement. They're reviewing some of the data about course enrollment, discipline. They're using the district's equity audit. We haven't really had a chance to talk a lot about that, but they have taken that on, of using the equity audit that was done. The results from the Learn and Grow survey, that's what Mr. Raymond was talking about. I think it was Mr. Raymond, that has gone out to some of the staff and families, to better understand how our students and families and staff feel about their school experiences. One of their goals is to come up with a communication plan and just really be able to help, have people feel more engaged in our community. That's that. Then you already heard that North Andover High School had a really successful pep rally and homecoming. I had the opportunity to go to the pep rally. It was great. It was really well controlled. I think that Ms. Holman and her leadership team have done a great job, and the student leaders. So working with the student leaders about some of the behavioral expectations that weren't so great. There were some things that happened at homecoming pep rallies in the past where kids were maybe throwing things or not behaving in a way that they should. They really set the tone and the expectations, and it was good fun. It was like it felt like a couple hours, but it wasn't. But of really good fun, and the kids had a great time. Each grade level decorated their bleachers. They cheered for each other. They did activities. The pep band was there. The cheerleaders were there. And then homecoming dance was Friday night, I believe, and Ms. Holman was sending me some videos from it. Again, lots of good fun. Everybody was dancing, and they had a turnout that they haven't seen in a very long time. I think it really speaks to the culture that they're growing there. And I think it was great. So Ms. Holman, Deb, she pointed out on the Monday how many teachers volunteered their time, that's strictly volunteer, to chaperone at the homecoming dance, and told the kids about how many came, and it was great. And then she did say, if you are, in your class today and you notice that this is one of the teachers that participated as a chaperone, thank them. And just sort of really bringing it back full circle, and you can see and feel that we're at the high school. Then North Andover Middle School, like many other areas in town, and I'm not leaving them out, I'm not meaning to leave them out, but I am going to just highlight North Andover Middle School because Savannah is an 8th grade student at North Andover Middle School, and so they have really been concentrating some of their efforts. I think Mr. Hicks talked about this. She's a student who is battling cancer at North Andover Middle School, so they have really embraced Savannah Strong. Their staff has done some fundraising just within the staff to be able to support the family. This past weekend, the grade 8 football team and families organized raffles, and they sold Savannah Strong t-shirts and sweatshirts and personalized cookies and stickers at the grade 8 football game. Their student leadership group that's led by advisors and staff. Their advisors are Miss Nightingale, Miss Gordon, Miss Blaney, and Mr. Goslin. They've coordinated and organized monthly shows of support for Savannah. This month, the students created cards and messages of support for her. At the upcoming trimester chorus concerts on November 18th and 19th, the chorus teachers, Miss Liakos, Mr. Nelson, and Mr. Inos, along with the student leaders, are organizing the concert in support of Savannah. The grade 8 students will be wearing yellow shirts for childhood cancer awareness, and they have items on sale to support her. And they have a special song planned for that event for her. Thompson School did it again at the Knights on the Run. Thompson School wins. We really want to congratulate Mr. Morgan and the Tigers. Mr. Morgan is the PE teacher. He does a great job getting the students excited to go to the Knights on the Run, where it's about participation. And they, as you know, we weren't able to have the full 5K this year, but they did hold the kids race. So that was great. And then some superintendent updates for you. Ms. Dowd and I attended the Finance Committee meeting on October 14th. The Finance Committee, we shared with them the same things we shared with you, the first financial report, the grants, and the MOU update. I would say we spent about maybe 40 minutes with them. They had some good questions and some good feedback for us. They seemed pleased with the direction, and we're happy to see some of that grant information, and was happy for an MOU update. I visited, in my visits, I visited the Franklin School on the 14th and North Andover High School on the 16th. So this is my first round of visits with all of the leaders. And my first round, I'm really focusing on how did the start of the school year go for you, some opportunity for the leaders to talk to me. Then we talk about their initial goals as administrators and review that, much like you reviewed my goals. And then we spend some time walking the classrooms together. This time I let them lead it. Different visits might have some different directions. Again, I told you I already went to the pep rally. We had a leadership team meeting on October 20th. So as we have grown our leaderships and leaders in the building, one of the things that we want to work on is building efficacy and building all of our leaders. And if you've been sort of the solo person or running the building on your own, that you sometimes can just sort of fall into that trap of thinking you have to do it all. And I think it's important that we realize that the more we are, that there's lots of different people and that we can lean into each other's support. And so we examined collective efficacy and how it relates to our daily work. That was really the sort of the curriculum bulk of what we did. And then one of the things we're doing this year different is that we have established an assistant principal and director meeting. So we do it in the afternoon every other time. So we'll just do it once a month with them after the leadership meeting. For this time, we met with them and we introduced and we practiced what it would look like to do a class walkthrough. What are the kinds of things that you should look for in a class walkthrough? We have a tool that we're, not necessarily using, but really helps them focus on, are the standards being taught? Is there rigor happening in the classroom? So we went through that. The same thing that we had done with the principals 2 weeks ago. And then because many of our leaders are new to our district, we reviewed our evaluation cycles and our procedures so that they are comfortable with the evaluation tool that we use here at North Andover. I had my monthly meeting or my weekly meeting, my bi-weekly meeting, I can't remember, with the town manager this week. It's a wonderful time. It gives us an opportunity to share some of the things that are going on with each other within each of our disciplines. We also talk about problems that may happen if there was a lack of communication on our part or the town's part and how we might be able to fix that. It's really been very helpful. And sometimes we just share a little bit of stories and check in, because it's always good to check in on your friends. As you know, Kristen Ando and I are participating in a course this year in educational finance through Georgetown University. So we have our course meets on Wednesdays. So this week it was all about debt and bonds and funding and equity. It's intense. I'm going to tell you. But it's very informational, and there's always some nugget that we take away from that. And it's good practice learning. We've got the calculator out and the workbook and really understanding what that looks like. We held our mutual concerns meeting with North Andover Teachers Association on October 22nd. This is an opportunity for all of the chairs or co-chairs of the units, or custodial, secretarial, teachers and teaching assistants to meet with us, and we have a sort of very open problem solving. We have evolved. We have a really good process now where we have a form where we all make effort to put in things that we want to address when we come together, so that we can each be prepared if there's something that we want to bring some data to those meetings. And they've been going really well. I feel like we are trying to work that's one of our, I think both Juliette Darman, who's the president of NADA, and I have made a commitment to having to working together collaboratively and trying to come to yes sooner rather than later. I visited the ABECC today. That's the Early Childhood Center, which was great. As you know, Dr. Goddard is our principal at ABECC, and she's currently out on family leave, which is why you didn't see her school improvement plan. She would like to present that herself. So hers will maybe be a little bit of these are the goals and this is where we are when she returns in January. But we do have an acting principal there, Kristen Gazda, and Karen Bukovich, who's our Special Education Program Coordinator. That's a hard one. So I met with them and had some opportunities to see some of the classrooms there. We had our central office weekly meeting that happens on Thursdays. So the bulk of our meeting this week was on FY27 budget planning. So Ms. Dowd has already scheduled meetings with lots of the cost centers. So that's looking at her meetings with transportation, her meeting with director of nursing, technology, starting her work with teaching and learning, but athletics, to start to think about some of the budget that they may have. So what she's presenting to them is what they had this year, starting to look at, does this meet your needs? What might you need differently? And then did we miss the mark? Or something, should they be in other areas? And then Mr. Landry presented the CIP, the capital improvement plan submissions from the school to our team today. I think we have 13 items that we plan to submit for capital improvement going forward. So he reviewed them with the team, and we had an opportunity to talk about, we rank ours a little bit based on like sort of what we'd like, the first one we put in is what we'd hoped would, if we only get that number one. So he presented them to the team, and then we talked a little bit about how we might rank those and send them in. And then this some really, I think, is exciting news. I had a meeting with Steve Foster and Jeremy Brandel from the Department of DPW, Department of Facilities. Greg Landry, myself, and Nicole Radelsky, who's the principal at Franklin School. We met at Kittredge School today. We are in the process of hoping to move the modulars from the Kittredge School. So if you remember a few years ago, or if you know, the Kittredge School has a modular in the back of the school. So there's 4 classrooms in the back. So it's our plan to move those modulars to the Franklin School to take down the 2. There are 3 modular units at Franklin. We took 1 down this summer, and there are 2 that are still, bless you, there are 2 that are still in operation. Those 2 are not in good condition. They would come down. She would gain these other 4. And so it looks like we are just continuing to explore that, and you can imagine that's probably something you're going to see as one of our capital improvement requests. And then just also wanted to point out, as you talked about, as you heard from our principals tonight, the many ways that they're supporting students, new students from ABECC, new students to our community, and students who transferred from Kittredge. We're also really looking at that school building. It has been very helpful to lots of other schools in the district in terms of we've been able to put some of these visual screens in classrooms or office spaces that didn't have an opportunity to project or to work with small groups of students. We've repurposed them from the Kittredge School into variety schools throughout the district. We've taken we've taken all of them now, the picnic tables, which gives you some opportunities to have some outside time through different schools. We've shared some with the DPW as well. Furniture has been moved from the Kittredge schools to some of the other schools. So really looking at what we can repurpose and use in different ways has been great.
Thank
That's
you.
all I have tonight. Questions? Or
Follow-up questions for the superintendent? Mine is more of a comment. In your list of all the things that you were doing, there's a lot of like the management side of and operations things, which I know is a very big part of your job. I do deeply appreciate the assistant principal and director moment that you had, and still being that teacher at heart, really thinking about how you support the development of your staff and the very specific skills they need to do their job well. So thank you for making time for that.
It's really important. That's what
Yeah.
the work's about. And so Jane Tremblay, who you met, who's my coach from she's the new superintendent induction program, she came to Monday's meeting. And, I don't know if it's like the proud mama moment or something, but, she said that it was really, she was very impressed and very happy to see that how engaged our principals were in learning about an academic piece, and how she gave Kristen Ando a lot of props and accolades for the way that she instructs our principals and helps them to grow in their craft. But just their participation. We also, at that meeting on Monday, the principals did a sort of a practice run of their school improvement plans. But each other principals were able to give feedback, and they're able to take it in a really constructive way. So I was really proud of them. It's you think it's like your own kids, right? You think they're great, and you think they look good out in public, but are they really that great? And then when you have an outside person come and say, like, these are some really stellar people, and you're doing some great work with them, that obviously feels rewarding.
Thank you. Moving on to the chair update. So before I get to the thing on the list, I have two additional things that popped in my head. They're not of two. I think they're important, but they're not super consequential, so it's okay. One, I had the opportunity to go to the homecoming football game last week with my own kids, which was fun to go to, and Ms. Holman and her staff do a great job of managing a football game to make it safe, so thank you for that. Of really great note was the halftime performance by the marching band. Their show this year is absolutely incredible. It's so much fun. Like, it's really good music and like really well performed in terms of music, but the visual of the show is just awesome. And it looks like they're having a blast out there doing it. So like, if you can go to a game and watch them, please do. And they've won 2 first places at their own competitions the past couple weeks. So good for them. And then second, our Cam informed me right at the beginning of the meeting that the football game this week in Tewksbury is going to be simulcast on our own, through agreement, is going to be simulcast on our own cable channels. So you can tune in at 7 p.m. on Cam Ed to watch the football game, Comcast 6 or Verizon 28. Did I do that all correctly, sir? Thank you. Okay, moving on to the official list. Demand to bargain. We have gotten the letter from the North Andover Teaching Association's teaching assistants and the administrative assistants requesting that we begin the bargaining process. Both of those contracts are due to expire, one on June 30th and the other one on August 31st of next year. So that demand has to come in according to contract by October 15th, which it did, and I'm reporting that out now at our next meeting. To help prepare for that, we've reached out and they are to them and said, yes, we are happy to bargain. What are some good dates to get started? And they're going to get back to us with those dates as they get their negotiation team together. I have asked Mrs. Cormier and Mrs. Sams to be the team to negotiate with the teaching assistants. Would you accept that position?
I do.
Great. No one on the current committee actually negotiated with the teaching assistants last time, so it's 2 new negotiators, but thank you for doing that. And the administrative assistants, the chair had the privilege of doing that last time, so to maintain that relationship, I will be the one to continue to negotiate with them. That's that. We're excited to enter into those conversations and to talk with them. Next, transportation update, and I wrote this out. And this is building off of the student rep report earlier. We know that busing has been a challenge for some of our families. And I want to take a moment to both acknowledge the issues and the impact that that is having on our families. There is a driver shortage. The company that we contract with just does not have enough drivers to staff the routes, and that's an unfortunate thing. And the impact is that some of our kids aren't getting to school and then back home in the timely fashion that we want them to. So they might be arriving late at either end, and like clearly that is unacceptable and not the thing we want to see happen. So one, there is a reason why it's happening. We don't like it either, and we acknowledge that it's a hard impact that has on families. What we are currently doing is we're Mrs. Lathrop and Lucy McCarthy has been in constant communication with the bus company to problem solve this as best possible. I know there's one particular bus in the morning that has had a string of substitute drivers. They're doing the very best they can to hire more drivers. They even have currently a $10,000 signing bonus if you want to go drive a bus. That's a nice little chunk of change. So they're looking at what they can do to hire drivers faster. The process they have to go through is there, and they have to follow that. But please know that they are trying to do the best they can, and they know that we are suffering because of that. So they're doing their steps. What we can do on our end is we are reviewing the schedule ongoing. I know Lucy McCarthy is working really, really hard to make sure that the buses can go where they're supposed to go, when they're supposed to go there, with a substitute driver. When there's a new driver doing the route, she is on the bus with them to make sure that happens in the correct order to provide that extra supervision. So she's doing everything she can. And we know that next year we are going to need to add an additional bus to make things work. So we know that that is a solution that we need to do. And that is one of the things that will be part of, I believe, the superintendent's budget plan for next year. Any other further comments on that, Mrs. Lathrop?
No, you covered most of it. So Lucy McCarthy, who's our Director of Transportation, she does have GPS on all the buses, so she is charting when the buses, she knows when they arrive at the schools and when they're picking up the students. We have had some success, not necessarily success, but we have had some good dialogue with the bus company. They understand, This isn't an answer that anybody wants, but we're not the only community that's suffering with this. Our neighborhoods, our communities are with the same situation where there just is not enough bus drivers. As Mr. Hicks said, there's a $10,000 signing bonus. They are trying to get people through the road test in order to drive the bus. So at what the student said is happening. So because either if they don't have a driver, we're doubling up on buses. So what Lucy might do is sort of she sort of daily, she looks at the bus route, and if we're down a bus, then she'll split kids up where it's going that route, or if it's close by, and we're announcing it over the loudspeaker and getting it out to the kids. But it's challenging. I mean, the principals have been challenged by it. Families have been challenged by it. It's affecting families' ability to get to work on time. And so we recognize that and are trying to be as supportive as possible. But it is definitely a struggle.
Go ahead. We all have comments.
Hey, we all have. Okay, so a couple questions. Is there any opportunity for contract relief, meaning can we get a rebate because they're not meeting their obligations? Save some money that way.
We'd have to look at the contract and talk about that. I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean,
that was what I was going to ask too. If there was any provision in the contract that addresses this as
right,
far as
if
reimbursements.
I understand they can't.
I hear you.
They can't do what they can't do, but they have.
What can they do?
But that's one way that would at least be helpful.
Yep.
My second one was. I feel like we saw emails or something about the idea of being able to communicate as best as possible to families when this is happening, like more in real time. Is there a way to do that, or is it?
We currently use the email system, so the same way. So we are looking at. I've asked Mr. Grant to look at the ability to send text messages through School Messenger that parents would get that. I think we're all sort of in this world where the text message is just something more that we check than looking at emails.
Right.
But there's also phone calling. So Lucy I think there was one time we didn't follow up with a phone call, so following up with a phone call and getting that messaging out. But we are.
Okay.
The other thing is we've had families ask us about tracking systems. So there are some companies that you can put tracking systems on the bus to sort of track students or track the bus. Lucy is coming to school committee. Ms. McCarthy is coming to school committee. She can talk a little bit about that. With those things come costs, and we do have an internal. We have the GPS system, just that families don't have that, and I know it's hard. And it's if I had a little one on the bus, I would be nervous too if it's late.
Right, it just feels like if we can manage to do something along those lines to get a little bit better, at least helpful to know, right? Even if you can't really solve it, but at least to be updated in real time would be good.
Isn't the technology such that they shouldn't need anything other than a browser?
But we like if you use.
You have to subscribe, so it's a paid app. So there's lots of paid apps, so that like if a family was to track a bus, that's a different kind of thing than what we have through our services, like where the transportation coordinator can track the buses.
But I guess what I'm getting at is if you use the Uber app.
It's not like you have to pay for this.
I understand, but there's no easier, relatively inexpensive way that we can just put it up on a website that they can access?
No.
So one of the things that, and this is the next thing on our agenda in terms of presentations coming up, on the 18th of December, Lucy's going to come for her already scheduled presentation, and one of the things that we've asked her to do is to give us some more information about what a tracking app would be, what it would look like, and what the costs associated with that would be.
So I was just curious, I guess I'm a little surprised that since the economy seems to be slowing down, why we're having a shortage of drivers. And does this have anything to do with people who are immigrants being afraid to?
Yes.
I wondered about that, yeah.
By the way, do you have to be 21? What's the minimum age? I'm thinking there's a lot of college students out there looking for work. Seriously.
Get your CDL.
Right?
You have to have the license. I don't know what the age is.
I don't know what the rules are for a CDL, but
yeah.
You have to have that kind of license.
I just wonder if you can do it at 18 or if you have to be 21.
Yeah.
I could look into it.
it's easy to do a run before your college classes. in the
Yeah.
morning.
Well, yeah. And a lot of those kids are looking for work. So,
Mrs. Sams or Mrs. Cormier, any other comments about buses? No? Okay. Thank you. And again, we know it's a problem, and we recognize that it's a impact on families that we don't want to exist, and we are trying our very best to figure out something. Alrighty, can you give those to the other two? I printed these out late for everybody. So what I just showed you in terms of upcoming presentations. So we sat with Mrs. Ando, Mrs. Cormier, and Mrs. Lathrop and Michelle, and you'll see all the different topics we had gathered at the beginning of the year in terms of the things that we wanted to hear about, and we mapped out a schedule of when they're scheduled to happen in the first half of the year. The next three blanks on your chart there would be January 8th, 15th, and 30th, and those will be absorbed by budget. So the 8th will be our first budget presentation, the 15th will be the public hearing, and the 30th will be our budget vote. So coming up in the next couple of weeks, we're going to hear about MCAS and civics. We're going to hear, hopefully, from CPAC. I'm going to extend the invitation to them tomorrow when I give them a call, and LPAC and the medication policy on the 20th. We're going to hear about the high school competency determination because we need to have that done and voted on before the end of the calendar year. And on the 18th.
Excuse me, does that mean that we want the high school to be competent?
It's the new rules with MCAS no longer being a
graduation
requirement. Each school system has to develop their own competency determination. So we did a short version of it last year, and they're coming back
It's a
in
graduation
December.
requirement.
Yep. So they're coming back this year to tell us what we would like to do, and we have to do that on no later than the 4th and the 18th because it's due by law before the end of the year.
So,
and then
I see we're having a super mid-cycle review. What would an unsuper one be like?
So it's a superintendent mid-cycle review of our superintendent and the bus contract on December 18th. One thing I was thinking, perhaps Superintendent Lathrop, is maybe on the 4th, could we put in a brief presentation about before we get into the other budget stuff? Can we hear about maybe at that time the CIP, Capital Improvement Plan budget request that you guys are putting in? that'd be fantastic, before we get to the other operating budget.
So is super,
That's my mid-cycle
That's her mid-cycle
review
review.
of my goals.
so that's a noun, not an adjective?
I think
It
we were
refers
just-
to you in this case?
Yes.
Yes, it's
Okay,
both
thank you.
it's both a noun and an adjective in this
But
case.
you
Well,
are
but in
getting
this
the-
case, it's a
You're getting
noun.
the shorthand, just jot it down.
Yes. So the open question I would like us to think about are there other things as we look forward to planning out our late winter, early spring meetings that the committee feels that they would like to have talked about, presented on, discussed?
Well, I'd like to follow up on Alyssa's idea to have some sort of mid-course report. And so that's
Yeah,
kind
so-
of what you said, wasn't it?
Or a summative
School
report
improvement.
at the end?
Yeah, at the end. Yeah, towards the end of the school year.
Great.
It's a sort of in the middle of the year and then maybe one towards the end.
It might be hard to do a middle.
Yeah,
I think you're
it
only
would be
going to get
difficult.
one more.
I think we
in.
might get one more at the end.
One thing I'd like is to
But we-
see, oh, sorry.
So, but we can look at it. I'm not sure if we would have time necessarily to do all of it, but we can certainly try.
One thing that I'd like to see is having the budget updates on here, which days, I know it's once a month, but which meetings those will be at.
Yep.
So
So
we
we
have
did that on the
those.
25th, correct? No, we did that on the 9th? Was that
Yeah,
the
that was the last
last
one,
one?
right?
So
Yeah,
we would
for
add that in
this-
for the 6th and the 4th?
So just having that on here.
I just want to check, because it correlates with when we have the finance, when we meet with the town's finance committee,
Okay.
then we do it the day after. So we
Okay.
meet with
So
them
whichever-
Wednesday,
yeah.
so whichever one. So I'll
Whichever
just
one
check
it
for
is,
that.
just having that, so
That's
people
what I
know
do.
when to
Yep.
expect the budget updates. And then, the other, if we can make this public too, and just make this part of the agenda so people know when things are coming.
Yeah. With the
Tentatively.
caveat that it's,
Tentative.
this is our plan and we will,
Big plan.
Very changeable.
it's very changeable depending on when we sit down, what actually has to happen that week.
And what pops up unexpectedly.
Yes.
Okay.
Plan is meant to be changed.
Other things that we would like to hear about in the spring?
Just so you
Yeah.
know, you have to do like the school choice,
Yep.
but you have some obligations.
Some
like the
obligations.
school choice, and you have to appoint the school doctor.
Yeah.
So there's a few things, but we'll just pop those in.
Like to have an update from the Special Education Advisory Council.
We're going to try and do that sooner than later. But yes, I will put that on the list at ASCE. I'd like to hear from our music department.
Yes.
I feel like I've never had them come on in my 4 years and give us a presentation about what they do and why they do it the way they do it and how they would like to grow.
I'm just thinking, well, feedback on how world language is doing, right? Because they had some challenges.
And I think in March, as Mrs. Cormier suggested, I think at our September 25th meeting about we need to maybe in March look at all the rates and of what we're charging for services, the rates that we charge for like preschool and.
Mr. Landry is working on that, so he's been charged with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
what we
just
want-
whatever his plan is, so that's on here. Because we're responsible for looking at all user fees.
Yeah, and we wanted to do that so we can communicate out to families. I think we wanted to do that by April.
Seems
for
like we
families.
just discussed that.
We did one
One.
of them, but we have lots of different
Yeah.
user fees.
We're responsible for all, we said in the MO that we would do all user fees, so.
Okay.
So what we're trying to do, I think what we talked about was creating a plan so that the community could know that, when to expect the next increase in preschool fees. So it's not just like, oh, it happened this year. So that's what Mr. Landry's doing now, is meeting with all of the, like athletics, preschool, user fee, any place that we collect a fee, what they might look like and when they project needing an increase. And the other thing is that, I think I mentioned to you, is that with the new fields, it's an opportunity for us to rent those spaces in the summer. So Mr. Nugent is working on
that baseball softball complex is
beautiful, yeah.
pretty.
Our athletic director is working on what he would propose as user fees for those.
They are cooking over there. I think
I
that's what the young
added in
kids would
here
say.
the high school course selection. You have to approve the high school course selection.
Yes, and ideally early, before they go out to kids to select.
Yeah.
Would there be any need, would it be a presentation necessarily? Because we just talked about, we're going to have the 2 contracts that we negotiate. I don't know if those would be where they have kind of a presentation. I know we do an update at some point in the meeting once we reach agreement, but I don't know.
Yeah, that will just
that
be.
would happen,
That,
right?
like, that's
Yeah,
one of the
just
things that'll
happen.
come up that we'll have to also include on that agenda
Bless you.
at the right time. These are the bigger things that we want to give people time to plan for. If there's anything else that you would like to learn about or hear about, please let us know, and we will continue to update this list and plan out. I think we've gotten all the things that people requested at the beginning of the year accounted for in the first part.
What about school like walking to school like school safety? Like the
Sorry?
walking to
safety.
school. Yeah, it's a big topic, but just even just the walking to school components.
So we should probably be sensitive to the idea that we may need to have meetings about either what we do if the federal government takes a lot of our money away, or if it starts telling us how to run our schools. I mean, who knows?
Those will probably be one of the things that would, when we learn about, we will have to put on we'll put on the agenda as well. But yes, those are things that
we just should be sensitive this could come up.
And this is not to say that we can't continue to add things as time goes, but in terms of like the bigger presentations and the things that we want to know about,
Sure.
finding the right time and scheduling that is helpful for both the presenters and for us in terms of our calendar planning. So if there's anything else, please let us know. Thank you. Mr. Brown.
So amazingly, between last meeting and this meeting, there's been no Kittredge School Building Committee meeting.
Fantastic.
And a little lull.
That's the only time I think I've ever said that.
That is welcome news. So we are moving on to the main thing is we only have really continued business tonight. We don't have any new business, so it's budget directives. So I meant to print this out, so I'm going to have to read from my phone, and I apologize for that. And I don't even have my reading glasses, so I really apologize for that. Maybe if I go this way, can I make it? I can make it bigger. Phones are great. Okay, so we're going to continue our discussion of the budget directives for fiscal year 2027, and this is largely a recap of what I said last time. But in case people weren't watching, I wanted to make sure the public knows why we are doing what we are doing. So as a reminder, the school committee provides these directives to guide the development of the superintendent's proposed budget and help ensure that our financial planning aligns with the district's values and priorities. We want these directives hopefully to be rooted in our shared commitment to fiscal responsibility, educational excellence, and student success. What I know about budgets is that they're more than a financial document. It tells a story. It should tell the story of what we value as a community and should reflect our vision for student success. As we craft the directives tonight, we should consider the following guiding questions. Do they reflect our continued investment in high-quality teaching and learning? Do they address areas where we know we have unmet needs, for instance, special education and reading support? And do they help us build a sustainable path forward for the district? Just some things to help us guide our thoughts. Once finalized, the directives will guide the superintendent and her team as they begin building the fiscal year 27 budget, and that's the school year 26-27 budget. We always go with the fiscal year ending year. It's very confusing to me. This is an important step in setting the tone and direction for our work in the months ahead and ensuring that every dollar we allocate helps move North Andover Public Schools closer to its goals. So once we complete the directives this time and next time, the superintendent will then continue to work closely with her team to develop the proposed budget, which will be presented to us on January 8th, with a public hearing on the 15th and a vote on the 30th, so that we can then approve it on May 12th at town meeting. Is that the correct date, May 12th?
Wait a minute.
Thank you.
Say the last few dates again.
So after we go through this process, the superintendent will then build her budget and will come back and present the proposed budget on January 8th. We'll have a public hearing and further discussion on January 15th, and we will have a vote on the budget on January 30th. And that is based on the budget calendar developed by the town to meet our charter and bylaw commitments.
Right. And when do we get the specific guidance from the whoever it is? It's the FinCom or the
first
select
2 weeks
board?
of December.
No later than December 15th.
Yeah, and we have a tri-board meeting on
The 15th.
The
on the
15th.
15th. So.
It's the first I've seen that date.
So we've talked a lot about whether this is the year we should ask for an override. How do you envision that decision getting made and when?
I think us outlining where our priorities are is first. The superintendent, learning what the financial capacity of the town is, second, because we need to know what they can do or what the town can do overall. Hearing what the superintendent's budget is like the things that we want to see happen next, and her ability to meet those things, and what that's going to cost. And if there's a difference, then I think we know what the next step is. If that makes sense.
Well, yes, it does. I think we all understand that it would be better to do this jointly with the town committees, and so that not all the money in the override is for us. So
That is a wise decision to make, or that's a wise strategy.
Right. So, I guess that means that we have to start thinking about it sooner rather than later, or at least hear what they're, I mean, do you discuss this when you have your tri-board meetings?
We have one coming up, right?
But I mean, part of this is, we don't have a budget yet to
Well, but, I don't know, which comes first?
budget, I
Well,
would say. I mean, I think
No,
that's
I
what.
mean, so the question is, what would make us think that, do you mean we don't have a budget or we don't have budget guidelines?
Either, but we don't have a budget is what I meant.
Well, but by the time we have a budget, it may be too late to run an override campaign. I mean, I don't know. I ran one 30 years ago, two.
I think,
And I won one and I lost the other, but
I don't think we
it's
could.
in a different town.
I think it's, in my personal opinion, there might be a need to do that, right? But we have to also wait to see, like, what is the projected revenue for the town? Like, because that will impact it. We also have to wait to see, like, what is it that we want to do next year in terms of our educational priorities, because that would impact it. And so, like, I would not want to say, yes, we're going to do it, because we might not.
No, I wasn't asking you to say
right,
yes.
but I until we have those other pieces of the puzzle, I think it's still a little bit up in the air. I think it's, in years past, we were operating under the premise that we wouldn't do it at all. It was never a possibility. It's still there, but we have to allow the superintendent to follow our guidance and develop the budget to meet our educational goals. And if there's more money that we need, then that should be something we are ready to do.
And didn't we move the calendar forward a little bit? And we're going a little like slightly, not a lot, but we're going a little faster.
A little.
Yeah.
I will
As much
say
as we
to
could.
Mr. Moskovich's point, to run a campaign for an override is a large undertaking.
It is.
Or overtaking. It's a large effort. Typically, towns start much earlier. I mean, that is something that you have to start early, because it takes a lot in order to gather support. If you're going to communicate with the town, if you're going to have that collaboration, right? If the override is going to be for town and schools, so it will be challenging, not undoable. I mean, we heard from families last year and from teachers and from community members who were here to support the school committee, support the schools if that is something we feel that we need. But you're not wrong. I mean, that's a lot of work to be able to pass an override, and there's usually a conversation. So now, I mean, you all know that you don't call the override. That's something that the select board does, and then that's a committee of townspeople that are working on it. I don't know. Have you heard from folks, or are there people that are beginning that work or not? But you're not wrong. It takes a lot of time and effort in order to fully explain. And we are also moving forward with the Kittredge School, and there may be something that we're going to the town for that in terms as well.
I think that's an important piece of information that we need as well.
So this isn't anybody's fault. It's just sort of frustrating, I guess. So the recommendations that the Special Education Committee has been thinking about, combined with the appropriately ambitious goals that we set, I suspect that we won't be able to do everything that we're going to need within what the town is likely to be able to do. But we don't know that for sure.
I think it's a, I don't
So
think it's
I don't
an
know how we
unreasonable suspicion.
work. I don't know how we work this out. I mean, we've talked with Kristen about, it seems like a very sensible going back and forth between the data we have and the areas of strength in the system and the areas of weakness, and what that tells us about what we know, what we need. We haven't done it yet, so we don't know what it says.
Right. I think.
But I'm sorry, but just to say, it would be a big mistake to go for an override now and then find out 6 months later that, well, now that we've been really looking into this, you know, we realize there's stuff we need.
I think it'd be very difficult to mount a campaign and start a campaign if you don't know the thing you're asking for.
Oh, right. Impossible. Yes. I agree.
Right. And I think that, I think that's hesitation for making a commitment from people right now. And I think we just need a little bit more information to understand what those needs are and to then start making that case. I think we're going to get some of that information sooner than later. I don't know if we have to wait till January 8th or 15th to be able to then say, okay, we're going to do it. I think there's some things that this town does on a regular budget calendar basis, and determinations that are made that I think we just need a little bit more info, and I can work on getting that for us.
I just want to express my concern on
Yeah,
it. I don't
absolutely.
think anybody's doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll observe one thing, that, you know, the process we went through last year and all of the meetings we had and all of the public input and all of that is at least laid some groundwork if it should become necessary. It's not like it'll be sudden out of the blue first time anybody's heard about it, right? Like, if they've been paying attention, they've heard about it. So I feel like that's at least something.
Then there was lots of support.
Yeah.
And lots of
That's some of the
advocates.
early work that you would want to be doing, and I think that ground foundation is there. And I think once we have a solid understanding of what potentially the need is, both in terms of what the school needs to do and what the financial need is, then I think we can do it.
And there was a lot of education that happened too, so people can understand how the process works.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a big part too. As Superintendent Lathrop said, like we don't call for an override. Who does it? So I think as every town member, to all of us who will be voting at town meeting, going through and taking a look at on May 12th.
Thank you.
Going and taking a look at all of the materials that the town manager put together last year to talk about what the processes were. It's a great time for any of us who have these votes for any year to get educated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think along with that education, I think we have I would suspect a number of community members ready to put on their work boots and do the work at the call.
I'm sure you're right.
I mean, we know we've been underfunded for a long time. And I think once we get through this process of directives, it's going to tell us very clearly what our needs are. I think we need just a little bit more information about the town's financial capacity, and I think we would then have enough data to start making that determination. So, going to the...
it's hard. I put together just a couple slides, just to maybe help with some direction. Unfortunately, I didn't print them for you because
printer broke.
The printer broke,
and
one copier was down, and then another copier.
And these are we put some stuff together last time.
Yes.
Then we got some ideas from everybody, and those are reflected in here.
Correct. So I tried to take some of the things we looked at a little bit last week, and then there was some feedback.
Quite nicely, actually.
Thank you. There was some feedback from some members, so that's sort of what you're going to see now. So just basically saying what Mr. Hicks just said, budget directives communicate the school committee's priorities and expectations for the upcoming fiscal year. They should guide the superintendent and the finance team in building a budget. These directives will serve as the foundation for aligning our financial decisions with district priorities. Of course, I'm always going to take a moment when I can to remind you that we're rooted in purpose and growing in practice. But I do think that helps. Like, really, we were thoughtful and mindful about picking this as our school theme this year. We have roots, but we also have a lot of places to grow here.
Wait, you said that more quickly than
I'm so sorry.
capable of
I said I'm always
understanding
going to take the opportunity to remind you of our district theme this year, that we're rooted in our purpose and we're growing in our practice. But I think that I just want to tell you that we were very intentional about picking that, because that's what we believe is going to support us, that we have very strong roots here, but we need to be thinking about growth, about looking upward, about what the deeper impact is for our school district. I listed some important dates that I think will be helpful for the school committee. You did receive the budget calendar from the town manager, but just these are ones that I think are pertinent to us. Capital improvement plans, they will be submitted by department. They have been being submitted by departments. I think they gave us a little extension on that. They're going in tomorrow. The Revenue and Fixed Costs Review Committee meeting will have their first initial meeting on November 20th. That's the committee that looks at obviously the revenue and the fixed costs for the district, and it's where we'll start where the recommendation for what the percent increase could look like.
And you're part of that, huh?
I am, and this year Gail Dowd will be part of that. The town manager will be presenting her 5-year financial forecast at the tri-board meeting. That's on December 15th. And that's also when that's the deadline. No later than the 15th can the Revenue and Fixed Cost Committee have their final report done. So I will be prepared to present the budget to the school committee. Is that right? On January 5th?
January 8th.
January 8th, sorry, typo. I've got to give myself 3 more days. I was looking at the select board.
The select board line, I did the same thing
I'm sorry
initially.
about that. The school committee will hold their public hearing on January 15th, and you should be, according to this calendar, voting on your budget on January 30th.
Oh, it's actually Thursday is the 29th.
What?
On the calendar, Thursday's the 29th.
Oh, no, school committee votes on
You
school
lost
department budget, January 30th.
I know, but on the actual calendar, it says.
Oh, so sorry.
You are correct.
They're taking away a day.
9 o'clock. Just reminding you, these are our district goals. So just, as you're thinking about goals drive what we're doing, high quality instructional material and equity, multi-tiered systems of support. That's our tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, and budgeting and equity. So this slide, Chris and I talked a lot about.
Sorry, just go back to the.
Yes,
previous one,
sorry.
please.
These are the district goals that you've heard Kristen present, you've heard in all of our school improvement plans. This is what we're working towards. You good?
Okay.
Okay. The next slide, I didn't know if we should call this like budget drivers, budget assumptions, budget considerations, but really these are what I think of. These are things that are part of a level service budget. If you're thinking about, just so you know that this is like the absolute must-dos. In some ways it's like fixed costs, right? This we know. We know we have contracted services. We know we have supplies and materials that we have to take care of. We know we have salaries for all of our staff. This includes the COLAs, cost of living adjustment, the STEP, the lane, and any other contractual obligations that they might have, longevity, stipends, things like that. Transportation, so that includes general education transportation, foster and homeless transportation, athletics and activities transportation, and special education. And then special education out-of-district tuition, there could be increases, changes, any additions and placements. So these are things that we know are considerations for any budget that we're going to build. So then, as Mr. Hicks just said, I tried to think about what we did last week, what some people put in, and sort of they started to come to me and are looking at like sort of buckets. So the first bucket was looking at if you were, just to give you a talking point. I'm not saying these are the directives, you could change it all, but just giving you some ideas. Fiscal responsibility and transparency. So, I've heard things like develop a balanced budget that meets the town's fiscal parameters, but also your educational needs. So I just that may be a really challenging thing to do. But
they're going to be like this. I think your
Right?
hands are too close together.
But those are the right questions to ask,
right?
right?
Yeah.
Right, those are the right questions to ask. And I guess one of the other things I want to say is I don't think anything precludes us from a sort of, not necessarily the January 8th of the school committee, the superintendent submits the budget to the school committee, but I could potentially do something in December where I maybe give a foreshadowing to the budget based on some of the conversations that we've already had in terms of like what we're now really seeing as the needs for the district, just to give you some information. I'm sort of been thinking about that in my mind.
I think that would be appreciated.
Yeah.
It can be done.
And maybe not the full.
Not the full,
Right.
but like just a, this is where it's sort of going, so that you're sort of more prepared for January, and it's not like we just hit you in the face with a softball.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, what I think is
Or
what
worse,
happened.
hardball.
Hardball. What I think is what happened last year. Okay, so
Having
develop.
been hit in the face with both.
With both. I,
Hardball,
in that sort of bucket is investigate potential increases in revenue. So that's sort of what I was thinking about when people talked about the user fees, and what revenue we bring in could offset some things. In that bucket is ensuring that all salaries, stipends, contractual obligations are accurately reflected. And then continue to identify and implement operational efficiencies across all departments, including supporting contractual and labor adjustments that reduce waste and ensure the effective use of district resources. So, I think Mr. Moskovich just said some of the things that we're looking at is trying to, are there things that we've been spending money on that we shouldn't be? And Mr. Grant did a great job coming into this year in terms of looking at all of the phone lines and all of the network plugs that we have, and are we paying for things that we weren't using? So he did a great job coming into FY26, and are there other things? So that was sort of the first bucket I looked at, and you might want to, I don't know if you want to talk about that bucket, you want me to keep going?
Along those lines, can we look at,
Do anything you want, they're your directives.
can we add on, so for me, I think those are good, they're not wrong things. I feel like the one that's really a directive versus a step to take is the first one, but I think those other things are all really important to do. Maybe it's just the way they're worded right now.
Yeah.
But in that fourth one, it just popped in my head, that continued work of from Mr. Grant, just look at our I imagine we have a lot of software that we're using. What are we actually using all the softwares and subscriptions and is there ways to?
And we started looking at that last year. We did decrease some. There was
Perfect.
one that we were,
Thank you.
And we moved our, we did consolidate some of our, I want to say electricity, but like with the town side. Yes.
Utilities.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. I know it's in there somewhere. Yes, and I appreciate you saying that, because I just want to remind you that 27 directives is going to be really hard to meet. So really thinking there are lots of activities or suggestions within, but really, like you said, narrowing it down.
But one particular one, though, I want to ask about, because it was one of the things I sent you. I can't help but wonder if a grant writer would have a big ROI, big return on investment.
Yeah.
Obviously it costs money to have somebody.
Yeah.
But would they bring in enough, you know what I mean, to make that make sense?
I think that sort of comes down to maybe, that's more of I see that as an action as opposed to a budget directive. I mean, that you're basically telling me to do, that would be there's no way I can get around that other than if you say hire a budget director, a grant writer. I think what I would prefer is that I think we all think there's a need for a grant writer. Now, I think you think there's a need for a grant writer so that we can get more grants and get more money. I think there's a need for a grant writer so that I can free up the people that are working with my educators who are writing the grants right now, and that they can work with the educators and other people can do that, because I do think we're chasing all the dollars. There are other dollars out there. There's this grant called the Cummings Grant that it's a lot to write the Cummings Grant, and we don't have the capacity to be able to do that right now. So I think there's a little bit of both within there. I think if we were to do something like that, I would couple it with something else, much like the way we did assistant principals for student services. There's an opportunity to maybe, if you bring somebody in that has a grant writing experience,
I got
I'll give
you.
you
Yeah,
for
yeah.
instance. So there may be a retirement that's happening, and maybe that's sort of something you look for in that position that you're bringing in. For
Right,
somebody.
get a dual qualified person.
So that seems to be more of a very specific
okay.
do to me,
So-
as opposed to
gotcha.
a directive, like.
Okay,
for
but
planning
I mean,
budget.
it's basically there in the investigate potential increases in revenue. I just figured.
I can spend money really well. I can give you a whole list of things that I'd like to have here in this district, and trust me, I have them all in my mind.
Well, but so similarly, and maybe this is, I don't think this is in there. Are we able to use volunteers for anything that we now have to pay for? And I'm not sure how to capture that.
Yep. So
I think that would fall under that last bucket, though,
Yes.
of like, let's look at where we can be more efficient.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I think it's included.
I think
So,
that's what
okay.
I tried to do, because yours were very specific
Yeah, yeah.
suggestions of things to do, so I was trying to put them into where you could do those suggestions.
Within
but
a directive.
But this directive goes
Okay.
that way.
Yeah.
And the fourth one, that language came for me, and really, I think it's exactly, that's an example of one of the types of things, is everything else in our directives, that we're asking for things, right? Like,
Right.
we're at, because we need things. So we're asking for, and this is kind of the show of, we're gonna use what we have well, right? And we're not going to have waste. That I think it's important that we show, was we're asking for more money, that we've got the framework, maybe it can get rewarded more around, because it's not create a framework, I just think it's important, it's continue to use the framework that because you've done a lot here. I think it's important that we just continue to use
Okay.
what we have well, and so continue to use the framework.
I didn't read it like that before, so like, would an example of that be, in terms of being efficient, is like, so we have this position that's been doing this, and we are going to, and a person is retiring, we're gonna bring somebody in, and we're going to, with that, and the same salary exists in there, and we're gonna have them we're gonna write the job description in a way that it changes it a little bit.
That could be an example.
Just
I
like,
would
because
leave- I
the
would-
money's there, we're just gonna look at how we're using the money and use the existing money better.
I would, that's an example. I would
Okay.
use it to Superintendent Lathrop's imagination, because she's found it already.
Yeah.
Right, when they're looking at, what's it, substitutes, things like just looking at different processes and frameworks that she's looked at and put into place to keep doing those things. And I really wanted to put it in here too, is some of those are easily within your control. Some of them may be contractual, some of them, so just to make sure that you've got that directive, that's something to look at everything for waste and efficiencies where you have them, and just support that.
Great, thank you.
So can I make a suggestion? So some of these specific things don't belong as directives. I hear what you're saying. But maybe they can be shown as examples of things you're considering.
Yes, I think that's when I present the budget, right? So
Right.
that's saying like, here's what we're spending on salaries for X, and this is why. Like, I might say, I don't know, I don't think we need a superintendent anymore because, you have, I mean, I'm just going to use myself because I can't say anything else because people say that I don't want it to be misconstrued.
Right.
But
Maybe
right.
we can get a volunteer to do that.
Sure.
Kristen.
Wow, Kristen. That's creative. I love it.
So much like we did last year when we said if,
I
I
think
hear
you
what
get
you're
what I'm
saying.
saying.
Yeah,
Just because I agree with you that you can't put too many specifics in here, and then you're bound to them, and then we don't want that. I totally agree. But it's helpful for making it clear what you're talking about, right? To have an
be as clear as
example.
possible. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, meeting the needs of all learners, so I mean, we can change that, but that's sort of what this sounded like to me. So supporting staff and program aligned, I heard the Special Education Advisory Council. So support staffing and programming aligned with the recommendations of the Special Education Advisory Council, the Special Education Director, and compliance with all IEP requirements. I mean, that's a pretty directive thing. Strengthening our reading and literacy intervention, supports our K-5 schools in response to data from literacy screeners. So I did put the literacy screeners in because I think one of the things we've seen is that that's the DIBBLES, is a little like a literacy screener. The response to the data from the DIBBLES, what's happening there?
That one, how would you feel about saying intervention and instruction?
I feel fine.
Sorry?
I'd feel fine.
Because it's both,
Yep.
right? If you don't,
I think
thank
all
you.
the doors are open is what's happening. Ensure access to inclusive and equitable educational opportunities, including world languages and elective courses at the secondary level. I tried to take some of the things that the high school students shared with us, and that's sort of where that came from a little bit when they talked about what some of the things that they were interested in.
Go ahead.
I just think, and I know world languages, right, was an extremely strong ask from last budget cycle. I'm assuming too, kind of in this directive, you'd have it kind of baked in as to which of all those world language classes that you were able to get, which ones did students actually end up wanting to take?
Yeah,
because
it's
that
such
was
a tricky
an issue,
thing, right? Because it's like, yes, yeah.
So that would be baked in here, because that was something that happened. You got the classes, and then the students didn't necessarily want them.
And I just, our high school students talk to us about keeping some of the ones that are still maybe low enrollment, but then we'll have choices,
Okay.
hard choices to make again.
Baked in there, okay.
I'm wondering, and I could be projecting here, in terms of the first bullet point, would, in terms of the special education department and the director to be able to do her job well, is there a need for us, because we had a few years ago had included a directive, or there was in the budget, hiring an assistant director of special education that never came to fruition for a variety of reasons. Is that need still exist? Would that come in there?
I think so. That's under support staffing and programming aligned with the recommendations. So if that's a recommendation that comes forward.
Ensuring that Lynn's able to do her job and not her job and everyone else's job.
And then from the school improvement plans that we saw, Ms. Ann, where are all those going? Because we don't necessarily have them. Maybe it's the second slide. Maybe we'll be jumping ahead. But I know I know from the middle school that one of their goals is having the recommendations and all those pieces. Like, where does that, is that
So
in here somewhere?
give me an example.
Let me go back I gotta pull it back up. I just pulled it up again. But I know in the
So I
middle
kind of
school-
thought that could go under ensure access to inclusive and equitable educational opportunities, including world language and elective courses at the secondary level. Middle school is considered secondary level.
Okay, so maybe
It
that's.
isn't part of the answer to Kelly's question and the yellow thing that you've underlined in the first bullet?
Yep, could be there as
They
well.
all
Yes.
do, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's why, so
You're
you don't,
asking
I don't
are
want to
those-
be so.
Those are educational
Yeah.
needs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to show here is that you're giving me some latitude to come forward to you to present those publicly or officially to say, here's the position that we may need.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
As opposed to just, like if I was living within the, there's a little bit of a balance between the fiscal parameters and what the educational needs are.
Yeah.
Instructional quality and professional learning, so maintain and expand professional development aligned to the district's high-quality instructional materials and the science of reading. Provide time and structure for education collaboration, coaching, and implementation support.
That costs money.
Provide initiatives that build instructional coherence and elevate student outcomes across all grade levels.
And to your point, Kelly, like that second bullet, provide time and structure for educator collaboration. That is probably something that like Mr. Gonzalez spoke to as like something that we need more. There's probably a need for more teacher collaboration time at all levels.
Yeah.
All right, so they're baked in. I just want to make sure, because they've spent all that time, I want to make sure we're representing them in the directives for them.
I
Okay.
kind of got that feeling yesterday at the middle school open house that they're doing a great job with what they have, but I think the sentiment was that they could use more of that time, particularly the teams.
It's been a change in structure for them.
Yeah.
Well, it could also mean, I didn't get everything, single word you said, but it could certainly mean more professional development. I mean, if you say that teachers, since we know they're generally very able people, if they're not doing something effective, it just may mean just bringing in coaches or instructors to help them do even better.
And then the last bucket was safe and supportive schools to ensure the class size remains within reasonable and equitable ranges. We sort of landed on 18 to 25 last year, so I left that there. Continue to investigate school safety, climate, and maintenance of our facilities. You had talked about that in some of the ones you sent. Recognizing the needs of our aging buildings. Support staffing that ensures safe, supervised environments for all students.
Because I legitimately don't know, why would we have the continuing investments in maintenance of facilities in this operating budget and not in the capital improvement plan budget?
Because some of the things that we may need to fix are not a capital improvement. They don't qualify for what the parameters of capital improvement are. So we have the maintenance. We have a director of building and maintenance. So we would want to continue. We have 2 maintenance people that work for the school department.
Yep.
So continuing that budget and looking. We are, so Todd Workman was one of the maintenance people. He took on the position of director of custodians and maintenance, thank you. So we are currently interviewing for his position, and we're trying to think about the really specific, what our buildings need in terms of maintenance, and trying to find that right person, to be a little bit more specific as opposed to just a general maintenance person. So what is it that we're finding that we need somebody to come in and support in some of our aging buildings?
And then can you just give us some examples of what the staffing, who are the staff that ensure the safe, supervised environments for all students beyond the teachers? Who would fall into that bucket? Like noon attendants?
Teaching assistants.
Okay. I just wanted to know, when we say that, who are we talking about?
Guidance counselors, yep.
Thank you.
Think of what Ms. Holman said with the parking lot, people who monitor.
I just want to make sure we name those types of people out loud for the public to hear us too. When we're talking about that, it's not just it'd be nice to have a couple extra but those are the types of people we are talking about that add to our community. So some really important ways.
And then within the class size, the 18 to 25, is that for the elementary school or for all classes?
That's a good question. It is, right? It feels good when someone tells you that's a good question. Yeah, our class sizes are a little bit, I think it's up to 27 probably for the middle and high school. So we could adjust that if you'd like.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're clear with you, because I know I thought those were a little higher.
Yep.
Can I go back to the first dot in the third bucket? Maintain and expand. I think those are entirely good reasons to do professional development, but I wouldn't say they're the only ones. And perhaps since we just saw some appealing and well thought out goals for, perhaps it could also expand it to be consistent to the improvement plans that we just heard.
That would keep me from asking every time where they go.
I'm sorry?
That would keep me from asking every time where's Principal Gonzalez's items, the school improvement plans.
This is small wordsmithing, so I apologize. Should we use science of reading or evidence-based literacy instruction, Ms. Ando?
Aren't they the same thing?
Yes, it goes
that's where the evidence. It actually all goes back to 30 years of research, and I actually once met the guy who did it. Mm-hmm. The stuff that led to the National Reading Panel.
Yeah, I was just wondering which one is the proper term that we might want to use there. I don't know.
As long as we all agree on it.
I like evidence-based literacy instruction.
Thank you.
Of course.
Are the lights dimming or is it me?
No, it's
No,
when she goes to make some adjustments, it goes to black first. You can blame her.
It's getting late though, so it could be anything.
That's PowerPoint. Looking for the screen.
Right.
Yes. Google Slides, whatever you're using.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens. It's looking for the monitor.
So what's our next steps on that?
So great question. Anything we would like any other suggestions or things that are missing that we might want to include?
I think that those are broad enough to encompass what we've thrown out there individually, but giving Ms. Lathrop enough freedom to build it the way she feels fit.
Yeah. Are there things there that, like in the first one, if you go back one slide?
Mm-hmm.
There's also, I feel like there's 4, 7, there's 13 of them, I think, up on the board total. Does that feel like too many? And do some of them feel more like action steps versus not a bad thing to do, but do they feel like they belong in something else versus the directions we're giving her to develop the budget? Like investigating potential increases in revenue, yeah, we're going to do that.
But that's more of like a subheading.
Is that part of the budget development thing, or just like a directive of doing your job thing, which you're doing, by the way? I just want to try and make sure they're streamlined as much as possible and they're the right level, not too much, not too little. Goldilocks.
If you're asking, my answer to your question is that it doesn't have to be precise here, but we've had this very constructive back and forth between the superintendent and the deputy superintendent and us, and I think they have a pretty good idea of what we have in mind. And ultimately, you know, they're going to make their suggestions. We always can modify them, but I think she has, you can disagree with me, but you have a pretty good sense of what we're looking for broadly, and then you're going to make some tentative choices or recommendations to us. And it may well be that you're going to have to say, well, I can't do everything that I really think is important within the town limits.
I think that's why these are guidance and not must.
I would like
Right,
to
well,
see
that's what you said before. I mean,
Yeah.
it's guidance, it's not a rigid request.
Kristen, if you can go back, please. Absolutely. I would like to see C as a directive, though, because I think that
that
is a
one- that
different,
one-
we can reword it, but I think that's different.
That one I've struggled with a little bit more in terms of which where.
That one, it was
that
C.
one.
The one that's highlighted.
It's different than the other two.
Orange. Why are you looking up at the wall?
Why are you looking at the wall? When I was looking at them, the other ones felt like a to-do list versus that one felt like sort of in between. But I think we don't have to go through the wordsmithing process of it. I think we understand what it means too.
Because this is key, like, it's different, and it's important that we're using, part of building this budget is proving that we're using our money wisely.
Yeah, and it's the allocation of resources, like, doesn't have to be like new money. It could be reallocation of existing monies versus there could also be a request for new monies. I think that once you all explained that to me, I understood it a little better. So thank you for that.
Could also be a result of falling enrollment, should that happen.
Yep. Can I put something out there that could be controversial?
Before you do that, can we finish this? Because there's one thing on this. I do think investigating potential increases in revenue is pretty important, and it should stand alone, right? Because that's not something we've really, I don't think, worked on hard before.
I just want to remind us that when we think about revenue, if we raise, so if you're, just like last year when Ms. Holman talked about the parking lot fees, right? And she said she wanted to use some of those fees to potentially support a redesign of the library. You can't do that. So the revenue that you raise has to go back to the thing that you're doing. So just thinking in mind, if you're raising revenue for user fees and it goes back into student activities, like accounts, or for what you're doing there. So you can't, or if you're raising preschool fees, it's going to go back. Now, what you can do is, like, if preschool fees can pay for more salaries of some of the people that are working in the preschool, but it's not like we can raise fees and then take that money and then use it for something else.
No, understood. But donations come in, for example, right? People donate things and sometimes money to us, don't they?
Not very often.
A lot of times that is very specific in terms of scholarships. So if we've received donations, it may be with a specific criteria. Although sometimes we get a donation for something like, I don't know, you could get just a blanket donation, but that would come in. But that is usually just a one and done. So
Okay.
just
You can't
sort of
count
to
on
be
that in an
remember.
I don't want that part of the. Part of
Operating
me is like that
budget.
shouldn't be part of the budgeting process because that's a one-time.
But I
thing.
don't disagree that we do need to, because there are some revenues that we are taking in that can help offset some of our other costs. I think that, and we have all talked about that. I mean, we've been very clear that we need to have a structure, and our families deserve a structure. I mean, no one wants to be hit. We talked about that with community programs this year. You want to know when you're going to have an increase.
So one example, I guess, would be the overhead in the meals fund, right? Not charging all the appropriate overhead means that the curriculum budget is subsidizing the food budget.
Right, but we're.
I think we worked on that. I'm just saying that's an example of one place
Oh,
where.
that you wouldn't do that.
I'm not saying it's out of alignment, but I think there was a while there where the amount of overhead that we could quite properly charge wasn't being charged.
Right, but that was part of the MOU, the indirect costs, and we have corrected that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as long as it doesn't disappear, I guess it's fine. In other words, it's fine the way you have it right now. Okay.
What were we
I
going to
think
do,
so.
something controversial?
Do you want a motion, Mr. Chair?
No,
No,
not yet. You're gonna be angry at me. You can shoot me down right away and tell me to be quiet. It's fine. Last year, we were working under the premise that we wanted a level service budget and know what that means, right? Or a level funded budget. We would then know what that means. That would necessarily mean cuts. Do we want to include any of that type of language in these directives, or do we want the superintendent to just develop the budget she feels is necessary to run the schools properly?
So the issue I find is that this is our first build on the budget. So we don't know what that level services is going to be until it's built.
So I think we get that far.
So that's my question. Do we just want to know what is it that you need based on these directives to run the schools well?
Well, the first
Those
line
are
is
really the
develop-
budget considerations. So if you go back to that slide, like this is really what's included in a level funded budget, right? So these are things we have to do. So that will be the first thing that we do when building a budget and that's what we're working on now. And I said Gail's meeting with all those centers, so that's the first part, and rolling those forward. Yeah,
because the first directive we have is, what was it, to build
budget that meets the needs.
Yeah, meets the needs with both town fiscal
considering-
parameters,
just to
right?
be honest,
Like-
just so you know, though, the town fiscal parameters and level services may be different.
Yeah.
Which is what we ran
That's-
into last year,
Yep.
so that when we got our budget number, it didn't meet a level funded budget, I don't believe.
But not that I'm a fan of the multiple colors, but I think we
good
need
God.
those. we need a show, right? Like, what can we do here? But then, what do we need, right? Like
I think that's why I'd like to come forward maybe in December, if I can, and talking about people might be mad, Gail Dowd is the one that's gonna have to present that, so that you know what these sort of fixed costs are then, and it gives us a better idea of whether or not, so it's either at that point, I'm building towards a cut budget or building towards a needs budget, right? A little bit.
And I think maybe by that time too, you might know how many of these things, because all the school all these components, can we do this in 1 year, or is this a 2-year plan? And I'm just kind of thinking, as your team has a chance to dive in, you might be able to go, hey, you told me to do this. This can't happen in 1 year. It'll happen in 2. You literally can't hire these people, or whatever that is, for whatever those reasons.
Right, you want
But-
to, like I said, I spend money really well, and you want to, I feel like there are needs for more staff and different things in our district, but you want to gradually bring those in so that it's supported and it's done well. And I think that's, the work that has been happening.
I'm not saying we had to do something like that. I just wanted to
No,
put
it's
it
a
out
good,
there.
it's a really good, it's a really good point. And
Do we feel?
Can I just say one thing on that? I mean, I agree. I think it's a good idea, and it would be, it's not, it's continuing what we're doing now with a couple of exceptions. Any revenue adjustments that you can get, or any changes in costs of doing the same thing, or if we don't have as many students, right? It's not necessarily continuing exactly what we do now.
Well, question though. So let's suppose you go off as you just suggested, and you hopefully come back in December and say, okay, school committee, this is, I know we have to spend X. And we find out December 15th, we're getting
X minus
something, right? I'm just trying to avoid you having to do extra work is where I'm going with my thought here. Like, is that okay? I mean, then we have to go back and, in other words, that first bullet point says you're going to meet both town fiscal parameters and educational needs. At the end of the day, you will, right? But perhaps some educational needs might have to get sacrificed or be a 2-year plan. So
or be the number we ask for.
That's what I was saying.
Or be the number we ask for
number
that's
we ask
greater
for.
than the town fiscal parameters.
Because what we learned last year is sometimes the town fiscal parameters aren't what we need.
Right. So what I'm worried about is if we give the superintendent that directive exactly the way it's worded, and she might not be able to do that.
Well, I mean, we could take out a lines and put considers. That considers the town budget and the educational needs.
Okay. Yeah, right.
But I think we have to do.
It may not align.
I mean,
right. That's my
have
point.
to do
Is in
what
the
it
end,
is
it
the
may
town
not
fiscal
align, right? And
parameters
we may
to
be
prove.
asking for more. Right?
Yeah.
I think you're raising a really good point.
No, I mean, the superintendent's going to start with what it costs to do the things we're doing, and then also going to look at what are the town's fiscal parameters, and and know what if that's what the number ends up being eventually at some point in time, what that means in terms of the things that we want to do, like what the staffing then looks like. And
Yeah, what programs can't we have, right?
Right,
Like what's,
so I think considers those things are never going to be the same. Like it's virtually impossible to get those two ideas to match exactly.
And I think that's where align.
And I think that's okay.
It's not going to work because it's never probably going to align.
And part of me, like, I understand, like, this is you argue with me on this one, like, I'm fine getting rid of the town fiscal parameters part of it. Like, I know, like, I want to know what it costs, like, and people get mad at me for that one, like, and I understand, like, all the reasons not to do that, but, like, that's where I lean towards. And
Pam, I
But we
have
also
the
have to-
sense that you understand what we want, and
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
you
like we're just-
understand it.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to
points now.
say thank you and to vote for it.
that was my next question. Do we feel like we backed it up? I started a week earlier, a meeting earlier than we normally do, but had an extra week built in. Do we feel like we're in a position now where we are, after a second read and not a third, we are okay with moving forward with adopting these?
I do. I like
I am.
that change. I like the change that Kristen just made there to balance. it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
It's fine.
I'm fine voting on it as long as the superintendent gives the directives gives you enough information to move forward.
I think this is
Okay.
great.
Okay.
And we'll clean it up and we'll bring it back to you. And if, if there's something missing, we certainly can correct that. But
Okay.
I think Kristen tried to capture
So
it.
you want us to vote next week, next
Or we could
meeting?
vote
Do you want to
Do
vote
you-
now? It was sort of given the feedback that you've given us tonight, you're voting to accept this as long as we incorporate that feedback. I don't know, however you want to say it.
I think it all was incorporated.
Yeah, Kristen got it
So
all.
you're good.
I feel
You
like it's
weren't
in
watching the
Great.
screen.
She's
Okay,
been
I've been
putting it
only
in.
writing it down here. She's
here.
handling it. Great.
She's got it.
She's got you.
I got you.
All right.
She's gonna do good.
All right, so the chair will entertain a motion.
I move we approve the superintendent's directives, proposed directives as modified.
I second.
I try to write these things down. I was like, wait, what are we doing? Thank you,
Budget
Mr. Moskowitz
directives.
and Mrs. Sams. Any further discussion, comments?
Thank you, Ms. Lathrop, for taking everything that was thrown at you by all of us and putting it in a nice, concise manner that you can work with. Appreciate that.
And could we also request that you, the slides as amended, that we didn't get in our packet?
Yes.
We get an
Yes.
email with that?
Yes.
And including this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's not part of the motion, that's just
Yeah.
a
That's
discussion.
fine. Any other discussion? I would like to say thank you to the committee. Like, on purpose, we ditched the ones that we've been using for 5 years because we needed to. I think we just needed a different process this time, and it was a little messy and hard and like difficult to wrap our brains around it. So thank you for doing and getting through the messiness. I think we have a better product for it, so I appreciate that. So having said, Mr. Moskowitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Sams.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes?
Mrs. Cormier.
Yes.
And Mr. Hicks votes yes. 5-0.
Get to work.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have that done yet? No. Communications 2, public comment. And just a reminder, 3 minutes or so, name and address. Welcome.
Harris, 135 Stevens Street. I appreciate the opportunity to address you all tonight. I want to have an opportunity to address the budget earlier in the process because I think we heard last year everything came out late and their community support is there. What I heard last year from the members who are here tonight is consistently fear that we weren't going to have the support for the budget that you needed and wanted. And I think what town meeting showed you was that it's there. The support is there. So use us. Use us as your advocates now because the support is there. I think talking about balancing both the fiscal parameters and the educational needs so early in the process is confining you because those fiscal parameters are not set in stone. That's what we learned last year. So if we are looking at a so-called level services budget now and worried that it won't be within those fiscal parameters, we are setting the bar so low before we've even gotten out of the gates here. Because if we're just trying to maintain what we have, which has been consistently under budgeted for years and years on end, we're starting off in a hole. Because those goals I saw tonight were ambitious. And that's what I want to see. Like, our principals are doing a fantastic job. What can we give them to get those goals accomplished? And it's more than level services. I think every single one of them would tell you it's more. They need more. So we need to shoot for the moon here, and we need to ask for it. You are the experts when it comes to educational needs. It is not the other members of the tri-board. It is you. And if you don't tell them what we need to succeed, they will not find the way to give it to you. Of course, there's going to be some tempering to it, but if you don't ask for it, if you don't tell them why it is needed, nobody else is going to come to your rescue and advocate for it. You are best suited to do it, so please do it, fight for it, advocate for it. And I would just encourage you to get away from some of the language that you're using. Use plain language. There is a lot of educational speak here, and you've all been to a lot of conferences, and I can see it in the presentations that are here. But you're missing the members of the other boards when you speak in that language. You're missing the members of the community when you speak in that language. They cannot see what you're doing in plain, understandable terms. So when you have these meetings, remember, we're all watching at home too. I came tonight because the live stream isn't working.
Oh, no.
And I forgot my phone, but I received texts from countless members of the community who weren't able to watch this tonight. So that's why I got my kid in bed and I came up here so that I could participate. But we are listening, we are watching. It's hard to get here, but we are watching and listening, and it's hard for people who aren't familiar with your language to understand what you're saying. So tell us in plain language, I want this because it will do this for our kids. Give us examples of the students' needs. Tell us what a special education student looks like and what your budget proposal would do for them. It would mean that they had a one-on-one aide with them during the day, or it means that there would be an assistant teacher in the room that day who could take them out when they needed time. Give concrete examples of what it looks like, because people want to know what they're voting for. They don't want to give you a blank check. People are nervous about writing a blank check. And that's what some of these budget proposals look like to members of the community, is a blank check. We need to know actually what you will do with that money and what it looks like for our kids. Give us real life examples of what it means, not just, spreadsheets, numbers of teachers, classroom sizes. That's one thing, but tell us, like hearing today about what the guidance counselors are doing, what lunch bunch means, identifying a resource, an adult resource for every kid. Those are real life examples, but we're only hearing them in these sessions and not that many people are there. Later on this spring, give real world examples of what it means for our kids, because people will vote and ask for the moon and let us fight for you. Don't sell yourself short now because you don't think you're going to get it. You will miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And it's not you guys that are paying the price, it's our kids. So I guess I just want to say, you are the experts. Fight for it. Tell us what you want and let us go to bat for you and get you the money. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Oh, one more thing. I'm sorry. Transportation, the contracts. I love your idea of seeing right now, are there clauses in there for failure to performance and penalties? And if not, we're negotiating for next year already, right? Let's put those in there. There should be penalties, financial penalties for failure to perform. And you were talking about tracking. Why don't we shift the burden of the cost for those tracking services to the transportation company, especially where they are failing to perform right now? If they can offer a $10,000 bonus to a new driver, they can probably pay for the software so that our parents can see when their kids are getting home or getting picked up. So just some thoughts, some creativity, hold people accountable. Everyone holds you accountable, so it's your turn. Turn around and, hold somebody else's feet to the fire on things like that. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Or nope, member comment?
Member comment. So first, reminder, town meeting is May 12th. But just, not only is it town meeting, as Chairman Hicks showed, we have meetings every other week that are important and have lots of information that's required for people to make decisions about the budget. So attending meetings or online or in person is very important for every community member who's going to be voting. Then just kind of reflecting back on our meeting, or not last week, 2 weeks ago. So first, I just wanted to thank Superintendent Lathrop and your team for the important progress that you've made on improving the accuracy of our budget to actual reporting. Right, that was obvious in the last meeting. That was a thorough, accurate report of where we're at against actuals. It's clear that that was a reflection of much stronger internal coordination and a real commitment from your team for transparency and fiscal responsibility. So thank you. These improvements truly matter. These steps, you're able to make better decisions, and we're able to strengthen the public trust in how we're managing the district resources, which is a cornerstone, especially as we consider going forward and thinking we might want more of the resources. As I mentioned last week, I do think that there's more work ahead that will continue to evolve, right? Particularly in how we continue to report on this information and we share it within the committee and with our community. I did take Mrs. Dowd's feedback to heart, kind of hearing what she said about not creating custom reports, that it's important to use our standard reports we've all been saying within Munis. So I shared with my budget liaison some Munis reports, that these are standard reports that other districts are using, that we could be using, and those might work to really help make our financial even clearer and more accessible to all of us as we continue forward in that evolution and the tremendous success that you've already had. And if the group agrees, right, I look forward to understanding the timeline for those continued enhancements as the budget liaisons kind of kick through and have a timeline, right? I think those are really important. But again, just want to thank you, Superintendent Lathrop, and your team for what you've done in the leadership and collaboration here. And I look forward to continuing to see that evolution to kind of meet the needs that I need as a member, and I think the community needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member comments?
Just want to ask if we can get some community chats going into budgeting season. I think we should add, 2, 3, so that we can get that community feedback as we're considering our budget and our needs.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
Do you think that would be useful, like if we hear a budget presentation on the 8th, should we have one that weekend before the next, or at some point between the 15th, or at least one or two sometime between the, like, in terms of like if it's going to be specifically about the budget and hearing feedback, like when in the process would be most useful? Maybe we should think about that a little bit more.
Yeah, because we don't get a lot of turnout, to be honest, at the other ones. So if we can time it to the right ones with the budget, right?
I think
that would
this
be
is
good.
something that a lot of people are going to be very
Yeah,
interested in and wanting to add
on that
comment.
Before the public hearing, right, would make sense.
Yeah, I was going to say it feels like it'd be. I mean, it's still great to hear feedback, but maybe at least one before a public hearing and maybe one after, based on whatever happens at the public hearing. That second one. Okay, we'll think about some dates. I know. Oh, Martin Luther King is actually not until after the public hearing, so we don't have to worry about that. Thank you for that. That's a really great suggestion. Other member comments?
Yes, just the budget liaison meeting is set up at this coming week, I believe. Monday. Yeah.
Monday. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome. So do you think at the next meeting then you'd report out?
We should be able to report out, yeah.
Fantastic.
Anything else, Mr. Moskovich? Any comments? You're good? Awesome. I'm only half an hour over.
Oh, and I guess I'll make one more. I really appreciate the public comment tonight. I think that was really very well put.
Chair, entertain a motion.
I would like to move that we adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Oh, before a second, remember May 12th annual town meeting.
I second.
Thank you, Mrs. Sams. Mr. Moskovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Sams?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Cormier?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. We are adjourned.